Hello, hello, hold on a second. But yeah, I got a notification, that's good. Usually, streams never fail on that. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Let me just switch off viewer count, because no one needs that. I don't want to feel pressured by anything. Let's not be superficial. Oh, that's an interesting news. Hold on a second, Remy. You fire some good ones. Hold on a second. Let me just get this ready. Quick, someone send a donation so I can test it. Actually, no, I think it just stream labels that is delayed. I think we should be good. Even though today I'm not streaming on Twitch, I want to test something. It usually never gets like, sometimes when it's gaming, I guess Twitch is good for that, but anything other than that, it's gonna be an issue. Can you hear me, by the way? Is a good 1-2 test? 1-2 test? Let me test it on my, hold on a second. It's a bit low. Ah, we should be good. You can hear me good, right? Alright, let's go for my ugly face in 3, 2, 1, and the song is gonna stop exactly what I wanted. Nice. How y'all doing? Yeah, that was perfectly planned right there. There you go. How y'all doing? I hope my mic is doing good, because sometimes when I have to do these what you call it, recordings and stuff like that, I gotta decouple the microphone and shit, so sometimes it bugs out the drivers, that is. But we should be good. How y'all doing? I guess I could give some more minutes just for greet a little bit. All good, the mic is good. I'm gonna have to check the audio for the desktop, but we should be good. So DOJ, Department of Justice, for those I guess don't know. Hey Michelle, I was gonna say long time no see, but that's not true. Just one stream I was playing. I understand when I play, you know. I don't even want to talk about gaming, man. I got banned off a server. Well, I'm not even sure if I'm banned. I didn't do bullshit, by the way. It's a long story. I'm gonna get pissed. But yeah, I know that usually gaming is kind of my off-topic kind of thing. But we finished. Oh yeah, Louca was there. We finished GTA 4. So the Department of Justice just filed a lawsuit against Texas for abortion bounty hunter bill. Is that the one that was like, you know, they only allow abortions after 6 weeks or something? I mean, a lot of things feminists fought for are still under attack today. That's an interesting point. Let me just make sure my tea is not going to burn my tongue, and we're going to talk about that. Hold on a second. There you go. Pretty sure I'm going to still burn my tongue, but whatever. But how you doing, Michelle? How you doing, everybody? Alright, so when it regards to that, yeah, I guess it is not needed. Alright, so let me just start searching for them. Obviously, always wanted to see this background. Look at this beautiful thing. Again, I could put like what you call music for the viewers and stuff, but I gotta have a playlist here on Streamlabs for that kind of shit. I think that would be a better idea. So that's an interesting point. Let me just put on YouTube right away. Good to know, Michelle. Yeah, 6 weeks, which women don't even get to know they're allowed to file a lawsuit and get a cash prize. I think the biggest concern is the fact that you don't even know if you're actually pregnant in like 6 weeks. Like, it could be a scare and you still don't know. I guess this will always be relative to what people really consider appropriate, but when it comes to me, or in my country, for example, is 12 weeks. I think that 12 weeks, at least from a logical side, it makes sense, and it is plenty of time, right? But yeah, Texas going back, like doubling down on kind of shit, yeah, it's a problem. Hold on, I didn't see this shit. What is this? I'm sorry for messing with Fresh and Fit again, but look at this. Now you're really onto that shit. Like, I love how they all of a sudden want support and start posting this positive shit. Would you look at that? You need 1 million. I wonder why. I'm pretty sure they're bouncing back, right? Let me just. I'm sorry, but it's always interesting to know where they at with that. Let's go with that. Let me see. I'm pretty sure they're bouncing back now. Yeah, pretty much. What to give back? You want to give back to everyone? Okay, so you have a free giveaway. Okay, it's a giveaway kind of thing. All right, still getting those comments. I still want to fight. That's what I fucking want. Okay, but whatever. They remind me of that. A lot of people just trust women and their doctors to make the best decision, but you know that makes you. Oh, wait, a lot of people just trust women and their doctors to make the best decision, but you know that makes you a feminist. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Like, can you explain it for dumb people like me? In what situation? Like, what is the narrative? That to a lot of people, you're not automatically a feminist if you have like, let's say, if you're pro-choice. Is that what you're saying? It's all honestly because of the way that this sends to me. Just. I'm slow, okay? Give me some slack. What is this guy's called? Think before you sleep. I know she's talking about abortion. I know. Now let me just put this on. But I did find this video. I'm not gonna agree fully with everything. There's a special part that I would say like it's going too far. You know, it's being a little bit of an emotional response and stuff like that by, you know, think before you sleep. But I found it an interesting video, right? Nonetheless. But let me see what we can have here. So yeah, the abortion thing, the women and doctor can make the choice of abortion. Okay, better than the government. Absolutely, of course. Of course. You made it to the description. Of course, man. I'm gonna try. Last time I didn't copy paste it. I forgot to fucking save this shit, and I delete the videos that have the MCS as the main host. So I forgot to do that. Oops. Okay. So let me put this full screen. Jesus, I did not say play YouTube. Okay, but I see you understand what you're saying. To a lot of people, you're saying like that's being a feminist. Okay, or that you are saying that that's being a feminist. Agreed. But I feel like the way that I am a feminist is pretty much outdated. You know, remember the third wave shit? And even if you don't like that term, I understand, Remy, okay? But what I'm saying is, when it comes to the third wave feminism, it's not that I would feel ashamed to be calling myself a feminist, but I feel, for example, I have a female friend that is a feminist, and she's not a problem. But I don't see her as like a modern feminist, but rather someone who has the same ideology since the 30s, 40s, and 50s. As you said before, you know, the ideology that you had or the things that you brought as a change that are being contested today were basically being fought ever since the Wild West, right? So 1890s forward, right? But when it comes to third wave or modern feminism, whatever you want to call it, I'm not really interested in the what's the correct term or not, but modern feminism, it's tainted. It's like red pill. I'll say this exactly the same thing with red pill. Red pill is not a bad thing, but the way that these incels are taking this shit over, all of a sudden doesn't seem like a good idea, or it's a group that I don't want to be part of, basically. It's a healthy mindset. The term has been, yeah, I do agree with it. I think that's what basically I'm saying, is that the term, like everyone now is a feminist, but when you see them talking, you know, they go with the hashtag fuck man, which has nothing to do with feminism whatsoever. But it isn't interesting. But I kind of compare this with the whole discussion of capitalism and communism, where we had people like, okay, so I have a problem with communism because we had Soviet Union, and people will say like communists will be like, oh, but that was not true communism. We never had true communism, so communism can still be conceived as perceived as a good thing. But then people could also say the same thing about capitalism, because if you read books about capitalism, we still haven't actually achieved true capitalism. We have the bad version of capitalism the same way that we had bad version of communism, right? It's just confusing to me when people start grabbing a term and say like, no, it's still up, like it's still valid, because you, a vocal minority, is actually the good minority, but everyone that is in the majority, or even maybe you are not the minority, maybe you are the majority, but then the vocal minority, which is the people who we see on Twitter and shit, are the ones who fuck everything up, right? I have the same idea about that with communism and capitalism, and feminism is exactly another thing. Usually nothing will almost everything is affected by this factor, which to me, I don't like being called anything, honestly, man. With the whole gender thing, if people ask me, what's your gender? I don't know. I have a dick. What does that tell to you? Like, what do you think? And I really don't care what you think or not, because I don't even know. I know that biological sex, yeah, male, I think that's what science would tell me. But gender, because people like to separate that shit now, I don't know. I choose. To be honest, I'm so tired of all these labels. I love how Twitter is all about, like, let's stop with labels, but they keep creating 10 every fucking day. It's just, I don't know, it's confusing to me. Modern females don't want to be feminine anyway, but what does that have anything to do with feminism? It's feminism, not the same thing. But yes, extremists, I'm sorry, from both groups were and everything. Optimus Phoenix, how you doing, man? I'm not sure about whatever you people believe in the mirrors of limitations when unknown variables you cannot consider yet. Wait, you're still talking about feminism? I'm not sure about whatever you people believe in the mirrors of limitations. Explain that better. Yeah, labels are a problem. People want you to fall in line, group up. That's my issue, right? That's why I don't like calling myself a feminist. If you ask me, for the most part, a lot of my thoughts towards women is basically the thoughts I have for everyone else. If it doesn't affect me, I don't care, right? But is there issues and people should fight for them? Of course, right? But I just don't like labels. You cannot consider unknown variables, so ignore them until they manifest. Okay, so you're talking about, I think I started to understand what you're talking about. Cannot disprove a negative. I would agree with that. So when you do not have variables, or you don't know them, they stop become relevant. Let me start playing this video, because this video is interesting. Okay, so a little bit of context, okay? This, as you can see in the title, how feminism teaches women to be undesirable to men. But this has mostly to do with the kids kind of thing. And this usually, like, mostly approaches that, let's say, topic discussion. This opinion is going to come from someone who doesn't want kids, and my girlfriend, as you would imagine, it's kind of healthy that she also thinks the same, right? But we both we discussed this, and we are hopefully or luckily both in sync. We don't want kids, right? And even though I know that she gets pressure, I've seen multiple times, like I've been through multiple moments where people go like, "Oh, you sure? You say that now?" Even as a guy, I can't escape that, okay? But usually people don't talk about and that is a valid point about fertility, because men, you know, our fertility goes down, but for the most part, it's women who have a bigger issue. And this is going to be addressed here, and I think no one is going to disagree. Vox didn't disagree with that, nor Think Before You Sleep, okay? Basically, everyone is in sync with this reasoning. But people use this reasoning as to, you gotta have kids in the 20s, and it's better for you to have kids and not have kids and then regret, which I completely disagree, okay? So you never know the future, bro. Sure, but that's not the way that people are saying it, okay? Like, skepticism is not necessarily something that I'm 22, but I'm not stupid. I can see what people mean with the shit that they say, okay? And the problem is they don't talk about it once, they talk multiple times. It's annoying, but honestly, I'm the kind of guy that doesn't give a shit. I'll just keep saying no, whatever. I don't care. Why is my latest super chat not I only noticed it now. I guess long names are kind of fucking this up. Excuse me, but people are deserve to be known. I need a filter for this. I'm sorry, let me just fix this really quick. There you go. Scroll. This should fix it. It doesn't. Why the fuck does TikTok Streamlabs do this? All right. Well, I guess I can't use it right now. Sorry, but Alisha, last donation was $10. There you go. So in the case of the Texas bill, I say feminism is still needed. For me, good feminism is fighting for the law. fighting for what the average person opinion is of women. It's just assault of freedom of thoughts. That's a it's not a risky thing that I want to say. Is bold thing to say, because that's the whole thing of assault of freedom of thought. It does happen at the government level. I don't know about socially though. All right. So a strategy of fascists is to take terms and redefine them. Okay, I agree with that. Fascist, Jesus, I was saying it right. Hate women's economy, mobility, it challenges the establishment. They redefine feminism because they have no arguments to challenge. I see that happen, okay? Don't take it on the like. Don't perceive that I'm saying. What the fuck? Let's say intention. Oh, thank you so much for $5, Brandon. Thank you. You people are too kind, man. $5, that already buys me a lot of shit. Even though YouTube is taking a part of that, but at least I have financial protection. That's something good about super chats. Okay. It is an assault on freedom to It is an assault on freedom of thought to educate people. Is it? Okay. I was saying something that I forgot. Oh yeah, that's the comment I was talking about. Okay, so they redefine feminism because they have no real arguments to challenge. Okay, understand what I'm saying is that I don't believe, and that's true, the current paradigm is the same as in the 30s and 40s and 50s. It's impossible for something to last so long. But I would say that you are right when they try to oppose, like, for example, abortion laws, right? They really like to put in feminism or what the majority thinks, as in what most people think is what's logic or is what ethically should be, right? So this idea that the more people say it, right, and the more terms you start, because I understand the alpha male kind of thing, right? We've been discussing that so many times. Like, these terms are so fucking cringy for the most part, and I love how people like to redefine them to something that isn't. So all of a sudden it starts making sense. And I guess feminism went through that, and the number one tool that a lot of people like to use is, use feminism and what Twitter, for example, is saying to shape abortion laws, which is, listen, whatever, if you're attacking Twitter or using it to defend something, I'm gonna automatically assume that you're an idiot, a moron, and you're using the generalization of thought as what most people think, as in that's a good argument to change shit, right? Goes to the to the left, to the right, whatever. It's just stupid to me. Oh, you said it is not assault. Is that a correction? All right, let me. So yeah, they straw man, and yeah, they start attacking something that people are not defending. That I understand that, and I agree. All right, let me start playing the video because it's a very interesting thing. It's gonna give us certain topics and shit like that. Right, 19 viewers. Thank you so much, guys. Abortion is a woman's decision. Period. I agree. Right? Oh, Jesus fucking no. Abortion is kind of a funny thing. We're gonna be talking to so many topics, and I haven't started the video. Okay. But let me just say, I think this, it's what you want to, like. Otherwise, you can just watch this video on your off time. But my idea about abortion is that, yes, I completely agree with that. But abortion is kind of a funny thing. It's not that I sit in the fence because I don't, on the fence, I'm sorry. Because I don't. In the end of the day, I am pro-choice. But I do understand abortion is one of those things that I understand both sides. Right? There's people who take extreme arguments in both sides. I've seen crazy shit. I've seen people say like, oh, 9 months, a baby. Like, yeah, no, absolutely. You can abort that. Which to me is fucking confusing as hell. But I've also seen people on the other side being like, no, ever. Like, once the sperm gets in, it's no longer her decision. I go like, bro, no. Especially when it's like a huge group or a collection of cells, to me is like confusing for you to destroy a life basically because 2 cells became 4 and then became 8. Like, no, we're not going to start destroying women's life because that shit happened. It's confusing to me. But I do understand, for example, the argument of at some point we got to start talking about the Declaration of Human Rights, and that instead of one body, you're talking about two. But again, that doesn't happen when the sperm gets in and all of a sudden it's my house, you know, mi casas, tu casa. No, that's not when I define life starts, okay? If you're gonna go with life starts, the sperm has to be a live thing before it even happens, even before it even gets into the, let's say, the uterus. So don't come with that shit. To me, those arguments don't make a lot of sense. It's the extremes, right? But I would classify myself as pro-choice with not limitations, but I guess with like anything logical, certain parameters. I think everyone who usually says they're pro-choice, they do have parameters, right? How's your beautiful bald head? How you doing, Joel? Look at this. Always, you know, clean and smooth because I always put aftershave. But yes, people, if you shave your head, that means that you're going to put aftershave. The thing that you put on your face, you're going to put on your head. It's amazing. I love it. Abortion shouldn't be a thing anyways. Where do people's values go? I don't think that has a lot to do with values, really. Most women don't abort because, like, it's my decision. It's not because they want to practice the right. For most, if not all women, but for most women, it's a destructive process they don't want to go through, obviously. Abortions will happen whether your feelings are hurt or not. That's true. I put too much sugar in my fucking tea. Both men and women should have a saying in it, depending on the case, of course. The only time, that's interesting, hold on a second, let me just say, read this one. The only time late-term abortions happen is emergency. Yeah, that's true, yeah. We're not going to talk about that, okay? For medical reasons, bro. Even if you go for cold calculus, let's say it like that, a fertile woman is much better to be alive than a baby who might not make it, okay? Let's not even, that is not even up for discussion, okay? If it's if the baby is threatening the mom's life, it's her decision. She can still have it, but it's her decision, obviously. The pro-life side needs to lie to have any arguments. I don't believe that. To some arguments, like I said, the extreme arguments, some that don't even make any fucking sense. The fact that, you know, once it gets into the uterus as a life, that makes no sense to me. I'm pro-choice unless a woman wants to do it with a power drill in an alley. Like, of course, there are limits. That doesn't validate the other side, sure. But it's not about validating, it's about understanding that the other side might have a point, right? Is that like life is not made of lefts and rights, right? So let me start playing this video. Because this is a very interesting shit.
How did you decide whether or not you wanted to have kids?
I grew up thinking I would become a mom because I didn't know that I could choose not to be.
Especially like factoring in everything that's happening in the background, including climate change.
Good?
Is this the kind of world that I want to bring my child into?
I literally had people upset at the fact that I don't want to have children.
All right, so what's left? Women think that doing housework and knowing how to cook is disgraceful. Women say it's offensive for a man to want someone he is physically attracted to, even though women will not date men they aren't physically attracted to. Women have stopped acting feminine and started acting like...
I understand this might be a triggering thing to a lot of people. This guy goes a little bit beyond the point, okay? But he's not being irrelevant, or he doesn't have the intention to be irrelevant. Usually, as you can see, 25 minutes of video, right? So you gotta, like, as you've seen in my videos, I like to use other situations to, I guess, make you relate to what I'm saying, or to present a point. We're not even talking about analogies, but basically picking up other situations so you understand why I have a certain opinion about this. So, but he does that a lot. A lot of people might not like it, okay? But, you know, just, I guess, a warning, I guess, to a lot of people. He's not doing this in bad faith, basically.
Like men. Oh, and one last thing. Now that we've used feminism...
I'm sorry, Leah, there's a lot of delay in my shit. I never know what you're saying yes to.
To remove all the things about women that men like, let's use feminism to convince women to not have kids, which currently is the only reason for men to get married. Because make no mistake, that's exactly what this documentary is about. Convincing women to not have kids.
For me.
Oh wait, they put one guy in there who doesn't want kids. There he is. Okay, go away now.
Don't diss a man who likes Carmelo Anthony in his prime, okay? Fucking New York Knicks.
One guy
Carmelo?
in there.
Hello? Don't you even dare. Okay, but I guess like they try to use. It's Vox, okay? Whatever you, what's your opinion about this whole kids thing? To me, Vox, BuzzFeed, terrible fucking media, okay? So yeah, goes without saying they like to use the representation kind of shit, but very unfairly, right? So you're gonna see this guy once, and that's basically it. Even though there are men who don't want kids, goes without saying, and me being an example, but well. I guess the video is about women, so. But the fact that Vox wants to put this is like about being consistent, right? Hi, Alisha, how you doing? I was gonna say hi, Silver. I'm that dumb. Usually men want kids, but that's like over 50, and that's like over 50. Yeah, most people actually want kids. I think that's. Yeah, so you show the video to provide context to your point, exactly.
Who doesn't want kids? There he is. Okay, go away now. You were just there for plausible deniability.
Yeah.
Back to telling women to not have kids.
There is a huge cultural myth that kids are going to bring nothing but joy to your life. And I think that leads a lot of parents going in with maybe the wrong expectation.
That's a bit extreme, and I don't usually see a lot of people. I think most parents will realize, and when they are telling people, they will, even if it's under a form of joke, they'll be like, "You're not gonna sleep." Right? I don't think anyone says like, "Oh, it's all joy." There's nothing like. I think most people are aware of the negatives. I don't think that's. Nuggets Mellow was my favorite. Okay, yes, that's when he started, like any young player. But the problem is, yeah, well, he did have good teammates. I can't even compare that to LeBron and Cavaliers. You know, the initial ones. But I don't know. I just like Carmelo in New York with Stoudemire. What a fucking duo, man! It was very underrated. Jesus. With Helly, it's miserable but worth it. Yeah, that's what most people will tell me, right? And I don't decide. Like I don't like the I understand. When I think of kids, I think it's pretty cool that I would like the things that I know teach my kid, especially like when I consider a boy. That's my preference. Okay, don't get it. Here's the thing, like girls, as you may know, are very much more tough to protect. Not to educate, honestly. I think most girls are mature from the beginning or very early on. But to protect is a headache. Or at least the teenage years, the hormones are terrible. But men, maybe like when they grew up after 18, they become the headache then. It's a little bit more delayed, I guess. But I do understand the positive. And there's a lot of situations where I see myself being like, it would be cool to teach my kid to, I don't know, play games that I like or something like that. Like, yeah, I understand that, or teach him to play, to ride a bicycle. You know, introduce him to Formula One or some shit. Like, yeah, I guess. But to me, having a kid based on that would be kind of selfish, because that would be to satisfy my own need to be like, oh, how would this feel? Right? I don't like that, basically. To have kids, you need to have love, patience. I don't have patience, for example. So there you go. And money, two of those I don't have and will never have. Yeah, maybe it's the same as me, right? Patience and money. Love, it's, you know, if the person is not annoying, I guess that's fine. Of course, there are negatives because I'm confused about this sentence. Of course, there are negatives. They come from your DNA. It's worth it. I'm sorry, the sentence is confusing to me. Oh, there. Okay, there you go. Now I want a boy more than a girl. That's a headache. Yeah, girls are usually headaches. I guess. I mean, you can't be like, oh, doctor, I wanted a boy. Put it back. You can't do that shit. You gotta accept. But if I could choose, right, I would be like 2 boys or 1 boy or whatever. It does, Remy. I already seen, like, I haven't seen the whole video, but I've seen parts where, yes, they do address the economic situation, and there's going to be, like, the wage gap and stuff like that they're going to be addressing. Most Americans cannot afford $500. In fact, most abortions are by women who can't afford a second kid. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, usually men are more of a delayed issue. Even though everyone in their teenage years, they're wild. I think over 18 is when men start being like, you know, start messing with cars and shit like that. It seems like a far-fetched idea to you, but believe me, what usually boys fall in love with can be very detrimental if you take it to the extreme, right? girls are usually maybe more boring after the 18s. I understand what I'm trying to say here with boring, okay? Not in a negative way. But like I said, they mature much more quicker, so they are not so much of an headache after 18. Unless they're total pieces of work, which there's plenty of women like that, of course. To have kids, you need candy in the bed. You're not wrong. Feminism is a Taliban of the West. That's a far-fetched idea, dude. I am saying this as a woman. Feminism was never about equality. I would believe that in the 1890s upwards, like up until the 1950s. After that, stabilization, and then after the 2000s, that's when they started to go down, right? It reminds me of that. I don't know if you have this expression, but in my country, we usually say that the grandfather creates the company. The dad makes it better and the son destroys it, right? I think that feminism went through the same shit, the same phases. There was a really great generation, stabilized, and then became shit. Again, on the grand scale of things, because I understand that there's still feminists that are covering good values today. Yeah, it really depends on the kid, of course. I wasn't a headache. I'm honest, man. I'm being honest with it. Like, I was not. From my parents' feedback, I was not a headache. I was always obedient, but not boring. You know what I mean? So I never caused any issues.
See how bad it is to have kids? People have lied to you your whole life. We even got this expert on to say that having kids sucks.
Since about the 1960s, we've had pretty clear evidence that being a parent doesn't make you happier than not having children.
This is Dr. Jennifer Glass. She did this study here. I actually read it, and it contains some very interesting information. Let's get into it, but first, if you like the content...
So I'm going to skip this, not in disrespect, just because I'm doing a stream and your time is valuable, I know. Interesting thing about this guy, what I usually like to see from him most of the times is that, because I went through college, I've seen too many situations of this. People don't know how to interpret or understand studies. That pisses me off. And this guy actually is really good at pointing out how people misinterpret shit all the time with studies. And he's going to do it in this video. I like that. From a informational standpoint, I like that.
Can all be found. Odyssey channel clips come from kids. It follows from in the description as well. All right. These clips come from one of the latest pieces from Vox's Glad You Asked called Do I Want Kids? It follows our host Cleo as she questions whether or not she wants to have kids, while Vox feeds everyone a bunch of negative propaganda about why having kids is awful. Literally. They almost exclusively use negative examples and don't really take any arguments from the other side, even though they make it look like they are being fair by including a word or two from people who say that having kids is a good experience.
Thank you. Oh, Jesus, Alisha. God damn it.
Crazy
you are in a race with... You're in a race against MadDog, all right? $5. Thank you so much, Alisha. Just stop by for the support. My son is taking me to dinner. Oh, that's nice. That is really nice when finally you start, like, you understand, I put so much money into this bastard. Why is he not taking me to dinner? Now he's taking you to dinner. There you go. That's nice. Once I get my own money, I can do that. Food and my favorite guy. There you go. Have a good one, guys. Thank you so much, Alisha, for the support, really. What I was saying here, yes. When I watched this for the first time, I stopped at the wrong time. I stopped exactly when he said this shit.
By including any arguments from the other side. Almost exclusively use propaganda about why having kids is awful. Literally. They almost exclusively use negative examples and don't really take any arguments from the other side.
So I stopped the video when I first saw this as like, oh, that's okay, because there's a lot of videos that point out negative shit. You see my videos, there's a lot of times where I just point out the negative shit. It doesn't mean that that person is all negatives. There's possibly even positive shit. Even Heartbreak Nino might have some good shit going for him. I don't know. But then he obviously continues, and this is why it's important to hear everything.
Even though they make it look like they are being fair by including a word or two from people who say that having kids was a good experience.
So once you do compromise to show both sides, do share it 50-50, okay? You can either have a video and you say, like, guys, this is all negatives, this is what I feel like it's criticism. And then, because there's possibly someone on the other side of the planet who will do a video about all the positives, right? But if you dedicate yourself to be like, we're going to be fair, and you don't share 50-50, then I don't find you let's say, honest with your information. Modern women are making this movement about equality. Yeah, I guess the extremists are like, yeah, taking that wrong side. Has there ever been a mass murder of men in the name of feminism? Oh wait, what is that? Oh, Zelda Cat. Okay, there you go. Oh, because she compared to Taliban. Okay, there you go. That's fair. Yeah, that murder is kind of like Taliban's a strong thing, so I would not agree with that. Honestly, I think feminism was originally about equality, but some bad people realized that it is an easy way to gain power. I believe it's the same thing as religion. Once people realize, like, I can commit a lot of crazy shit and blame it on Jesus Christ, they started doing that shit. Recently, I was going to do a video about that, but I felt like, it's not interesting enough. About a guy who was like, oh, girls, you can't be wearing these kind of bikinis in the beach, and they were like celebrating college or whatever. Graduation from high school. And this guy just approached these girls, and they were wearing normal shit, like the bikinis were normal. And he was starting to spew this bullshit of like, oh, there's going to be a day where you're going to be in the face of God. Like, it's when people use religion. Religion can be a good thing, but because of how a lot, at least a vocal minority, used it, it draws a really bad fame or bad reputation to it. You haven't seen anything positive come out of feminism. I'm sure Remy will have a lot to say about that. Feminism was originally about equality, but then conservatives hated that. They couldn't argue against it. They decided to redefine feminism. I think there's a lot of people who were feminists, or actually, I'm sorry. They were not feminists. Let me just check if everything's cool. Nope. Jesus. Okay, I think we're good now. I'm sorry. 15,000 kilobytes per second. I just need 6. There you go. I'm sorry. It wouldn't be a silver top stream if it didn't have a lag or something. Sorry about that. I don't even know what I was saying, so let me just keep reading. Fucking... You better shut up. Ever since they were allowed to vote, they have wanted... Is that correct? Have wanted more and more. I don't believe that's an argument. Oh yeah, now it reminds me of what I was saying. Goes without saying that once you do give people freedom, like if you ask me what is the most or the safest political system, I'll tell you when it comes to safety, like, crime and shit like that, fascism. It's true. However, a big drawback from fascism is the fact that you lose your power. You lose your decision-making ability, right? Because you can't. Legally, you can't. Like, if you decide to group up in my country, we had dictatorship until 1974. Having 3 people in the street talking to each other, that was considered conspiracy. Do you want to live in a world like that? Right? So, obviously, when you give people more freedom, you lose, in a certain way, control. But it's kind of expectable. Otherwise, you're going to be living a shitty life. Everyone else will be living a shitty life. The problems women had started to become more mainstream because they could vote. Yeah, okay. I think I understand what you're saying. Women always wanted more. Okay, yes. I do agree with that, Remy. So it was a catalyzer. The voting didn't really make them want more. They always wanted that kind of shit. The only thing that made them, I guess what happened with voting is that it was a catalyzer. So all of a sudden, now that they had a voice and they actually had the results, they felt like, oh, this is way more efficient. It's like making videos on YouTube. If I don't get paid, I will still make them, but I don't have the biggest motivation. If I get paid, I go like, holy shit. I guess, you feel happy. That's all normal. So once they got a vote, like the right to vote, yes, of course, they started not asking more, but started to realize like, oh, we can talk now. I think that's expectable. I'm sorry for it being frozen. I can see the chat. Now, at least Streamlabs warns me now with a bell thing. Nice. That's like saying, okay, black people, you vote now. Oh, you want us to stop police brutality? When does it stop? When you stop black people from voting? Okay, yeah. I don't agree, yeah. I don't think voting was an issue. Police brutality is a thing, okay? Towards you, it's because you deserved it. Nah, I don't agree with that. Honestly, you're just trolling with that shit, but I don't agree with that. Police brutality might not be as generalized as a lot of people like it to make it to be. You know, as we had very sad cases of people just saying, like, you know, basically now what people care about is like, okay, I don't care about the news, I don't care about any of the facts. What I want to know is, was the person white or black, and was a cop white or black? That is the other extreme that I don't agree. But saying that police brutality doesn't exist, well, watch police activity on YouTube and you're going to see that police brutality happens a lot. Wouldn't say that makes the whole police bad, but it does happen. And you got to start raising some questions, I guess. Yeah, there you go. We're good now. The wage gap is a myth. FNF didn't debunk it, okay? Like, listen, we're going to talk about the wage gap in a bit because it happens in this video, but it wasn't FNF that debunked it, man. It was, people tried it multiple times before. No, it wasn't FNF and Rollo Tomasi that did that shit, okay? And I can assure you that they didn't use the best arguments for it. But in this video, we're going to talk about that. Police brutality isn't a thing. Let me guess. Immigration is an invasion. The left isn't scared enough of Muslims. How brainwashed are you? Yeah. Women get paid, I feel like you're saying in the plural, get paid less on average because they choose lower paying jobs and work less hours than men. Okay, that is true. But that is not an argument to everything that you said above, basically. And we're going to talk about the wage gap in a bit, okay? I think I already addressed this. I know, I addressed specifically the 70-cent thing. Because it is a case, not even a case of feminism or not. It's mostly a case of people not understanding how studies are done and what they mean. Immigration shouldn't even be a thing. People who become refugees should fight for their own countries and fleeing. Oh boy, do I have an interesting one for that. There was a video that I really liked. It was made by IBBC. I'm surprised. But it was a good one. That was basically, it was this guy Samir, right? That fled from Libya. And there was like a student that was like, oh, why didn't you stay in the country and fight? And basically the professor started harassing this student. And he was getting all pissed and he was like, oh, I'm leaving, right? And obviously, the guy from Libya made him realize, like, aren't you trying to flee from the problems? What do you expect a father of 3, right? With a family to protect, what can he do against fucking armed terrorists? What do you think they're going to be able to do? To stay in the country and fight, that's very, no disrespect, man, but it's a very dumb take from, like, I've seen multiple people say. That is so dumb. People always like to say that shit when they're not in the situation. The NPC dialogue, that reminded me of GTA 4 craziness. Yeah, like, see the Afghan situation, the Taliban, you can't stay and fight. What the fuck are you gonna do against guys who walk with an RPG on the streets? What? No. I personally feel police brutality is more the case of gun laws in America. Holy shit, dude, I thought I was the only one. Oh, that's interesting. I want to talk about that too. If I thought every person I meet could have a gun, I would... Oh my god, I thought I was the only one. Holy shit, Felzer. Oh, it's so good to hear that, because I thought I was the only one that thought about that. Yeah. Shit, I want to talk about that. Yeah, I want to talk about that. The women who play women's soccer get paid less than the men because they chose an easier job. Hold on a second. Now that has also been debunked, okay? If you want me to cover that shit, we can. Their case was not a case of them being paid less because they're women. They were paid less because they chose a fucking shitty contract when they were given a chance to sign another one. Okay? The whole US soccer team, if you're referring to the one in 2000, it was in 2020 or 2019, the World Cup or something like that. If you're talking about that situation, no, they weren't paid less because they were women. They were paid less because they chose a worse contract than if they chose the other one, they would make way more than the men. But they decided to make the other contract. So that was not really the case. But I understand what you're trying to say, but that specific case is not really a case for a wage gap. The vast majority of police involved involved shootings are justified next to none are it is true, vast majority, but just because a vast majority doesn't mean that it doesn't happen on an alarming rate or too much. Okay, but like Felser said that shit, and I'd like to address that. I did put on a thumbnail any other topic, so I guess we're doing this. I never react to the videos that I fucking watch, man. It's amazing. I do agree that police brutality has little to do with race, but mostly has to do with guns. Okay, because black people in white countries, that happens all the time. You have Europe and shit like that, and I can assure you, you know, there's a lot of people who will say this, but it's not true that Europe is so good. There's no racism. Cut that shit, right? You see the Italian soccer games and stuff like that, the British, dude, even Portugal, right? We're fucked up when it comes to racism. It's not just a United States kind of thing. But the reason why our police doesn't do as much damage is because we don't have damage to correct. In the United States, every cop has to at least understand that when he responds to a call, maybe for example in Texas, most likely there's at least 2 guns on scene, okay? Wouldn't that make you jumpy? I'm not excusing them because they still need to keep their heads cool, but the situation of having a lot of guns in your country will obviously create an environment where everyone is jumping and be like, oh, does this guy have a gun? Oh my god, he might have a gun. And he doesn't have a gun. He was just going to his pocket or something, right? For example, in Portugal, we don't have the tradition. Our police doesn't go like, oh, take your hands out of the pockets, because if a Portuguese person has something in their pockets, it's going to be a fucking gum, okay, or a piece of codfish. Okay, there's not going to be... we don't even have money in our pockets, okay? We don't have any of that shit. But in the United States, most people... there's a lot of people in Texas that have guns. It's a crazy statistics, right? So, I think that when it comes to police brutality, it has mostly to do with gun presence than actual racism, even though it does exist. Women's soccer is less profitable. In the case of the US team, it wasn't. Right? They actually made more money than them. But again, they chose a bad contract. That was the story. You can, like Andrew Schulz made an amazing video about this. It's amazing how a comedian actually makes a very informational video when we have comedians that politicians that we laugh at. It was not like it's not much to do with the smaller audience, but everything else when it comes to like the WNBA and everything else, it's the same thing. Yeah. It's audience and merchandising stuff. This one were like, we play better than men and when we paid less. No, but that was not really what happened, okay? They do play better than the men. When compared, like, with their scale, okay? Like, if they face Cristiano Ronaldo alone, they're gonna get 11-0 or something like that. It's not gonna be a fair game, okay? There was even that case of, like, I think it was on basketball team, though. Or was it soccer? No, it was soccer when 17-year-old boys fucking won the shit against, you know, professional women. But what most of the times happens, at least with the WNBA, for example, that I know this for a fact, the NBA still has to cover fucking expenses. Like, they don't get profit. WNBA does not get profit. No one watches the shit, right? No one buys the merchandising. But for example, volleyball teams, female teams, they actually get paid quite well. Why? Because people do want to watch volleyball girls now. I don't know what's the reason for that. I do think that women are really good at volleyball. When compared to men, it's basically either the same or better. But obviously, when you have more audience and you have more money flowing through, yes, they will be paid more. Okay, this business is not really like a case of like, oh, she has a pussy, I'm not going to pay her. Like, if they were cheaper, okay, the number one argument that I have for wage gap is if women are in fact cheaper, then why the fuck are we still working as men, right? If I create a company and go like, okay, so instead of paying a full dollar to a guy, I can just pay 71 cents to a girl or to a woman. Fuck it, let's go with women. All women on my company. That doesn't happen. But there's multiple others that has been talked about this wage gap thing. Now, there are nuances, of course. Wage gap might still happen. It's not crazy to think that there's CEOs out there that they don't care about social justice, or at least, I'm sorry, I don't even like to saying that term, but I guess social fairness, and they will pay, you know, less because they're women. That can happen. But when it comes to wage gap as in a general perspective or as like a big scale thing, I don't know. I've seen plenty of proof that it doesn't happen on the big scale. But yeah, when it comes to that U.S. soccer team, that I know it was like those women were very very entitled to what they thought they were entitled to a lot more money than they actually agreed to. Basically, they signed a contract, got regretful. That's fine, but don't start complaining that is oh my god is the gender when it was proved on court. No, you just chose a different contract. There's nothing. You were offered a contract where you would get paid more, but you thought that the other one would be more beneficial because you thought you were going to have better results than you actually had. That's what happened with the U.S. soccer team. WNBA is a case of like, just lower the goddamn fucking rims, dude. I want to see women dunk, or at the very least, just, I don't know, we have to be proportional. There's only 2 women in the WNBA that can dunk. Don't you see that as an issue? Maybe lower the rim, goddammit. Even volleyball, they lower the fucking nets. It's a case of people just being stubborn in that case. I would watch WNBA. WNBA, they have really good fundamental basketball, but they just don't fucking lower the rims. So most of the times I see women just missing shot after shot because the shit is too high. Goes without saying, even I played basketball, the shit is really tall. We played male standard even though we were basically the same height as those women. It's tough, even 3-pointers. We can't reach this shit. It's crazy. Like, if they all choose to be pro tennis players and were just as good as the football players, they won't have made more money as well. Easily way to not get shot by a cop. Follow the instructions again. Azo is not as simple as that. There's a lot of situations people follow. There's even cases of cops who are being contradictory, like they contradict themselves in their commands. Lay on the floor, hands behind. What the fuck was it? It was a case of a guy like he was grabbing the cop's leg. It was kind of hilarious, but the guy ended up getting shot, I think. What the fuck was it? He was saying to get on the ground. It was a like dumb request, but I've seen it multiple times where cops are very contradictory. I think no, I'm sorry. It was in the Vegas shooting when there was that guy that was shooting out of a Vegas hotel, and the cop was saying knees on the floor, walk backwards, right? Even though what he actually wanted him is to walk, and there was like 2 officers contradicting each other to actually approach him, and he didn't end up getting shot, but he ended up in a situation where the orders didn't make any sense, and they have seen plenty of times. Watch police activity, okay? It's not for the faint of heart, but watch police activity on YouTube, and you're going to see a lot of cases of police officers being contradicted, like they don't make any sense with their orders. Of course, people are going to be confused. Oh, there you go. I didn't even read that comment, Felser, but yes, they do give bad instructions sometimes. That does happen, okay? In the military, it does happen, but in the military, it's not as chaotic as in the case of police, where you can't just shoot people as loosely as you can in the army, right? But yeah, sometimes they do give bad instructions. That's what I didn't read your chat, but that's exactly what it is, fellas. Me living in the Netherlands literally cannot understand that. Cops here are almost never shoot, even if someone is running away in all of them. Yeah, again, we don't have as many guns, Louca. It's kind of a blessing here. Again, just explain what you're doing while you're doing it, and you will never get shot. Nope. There's a lot of situations where people were explaining what they're doing and the cops didn't care. Women also get paid well for doing porn. The issue is economics. A woman has more hurdles than men that aren't accounted for, like childbearing. Bearing? Am I saying that correctly? Well, I could tell you that 90% of the cases of job casualties, meaning people who die on jobs, 90% are men. I mean, different problems. I don't think they're bigger. I think they're different. But yeah, so we're going to discuss that shit in this video. Once I stop reading the fucking shit. Getting pulled over in America is like playing Russian roulette with tax dollars. That's a way to see it. Yeah. Castillo was an interesting case, actually. Still today, I'm kind of like on the fence. But yeah, he was grabbing his wallet and verbally told cop he was doing so, and he was executed. But for example, there is reasonable doubt for someone grabbing. Again, it's the whole fact that the United States has a lot of guns. So for someone saying like, I'm going for my wallet, but he did warn, I guess. Castillo was one of those cases, like he could have done things better, but I think the police should have acted way better too. In the end of the day, police are the ones in control of the situation. Yeah. There was one where one cop was tracking the dude to get out of the car. while the other was telling him to keep his hands on the air. That's mostly the situation that you see. Because the protocol sometimes is to tell the people to leave the car, sometimes it's to stay there with the hands outside of the window, right? It's a case of police officers, they either don't have policies, which is very bad and it goes to the whole department, or it's a case of police officers who don't remember their training. And I would be pissed as the other cop was telling basically the actual proper command. As for pay gap, toxic work environments like Blizzard games. Okay, yes, sure. But I don't think that has a lot to do with pay gap. I think the case of Blizzard was like a clusterfuck of like, what you call it, frat boy mentality. It's one of those cases where people say like, oh, it's situational. Yeah, in the case of Blizzard, that is exactly the situation we're talking about. Like it feels like Blizzard was like on a checklist. Okay, let's make women uncomfortable. Let's pay them less. Let's not give them promotions. Let's actually have a Bill Cosby room. That's going to be amazing. Like, Blizzard was astonishingly stupid. Or enacting. These things compiled created a bigger problem. It isn't as simple as an individual people applying for a job. I guess on the higher scale, maybe things can happen that we never know about. Especially living in a big city like Chicago nowadays, you gotta worry about gangs killing you and cops killing you, yeah. George Floyd had ingested enough drugs to kill an elephant. Again, that was not his, what you call it? It wasn't his cause of death, okay? His cause of death was, yes, he did have problems that made him a very easy target for, let's say, circulation problems, but the fact that the cop pressed the neck in the way that he did killed him. Cops, and here's the thing, Azo, right? You're telling me like, oh, you do things right and they'll do things right. They don't. Because I can assure you that cops are taught to use the knee on the shoulder plate. Because one, is more efficient. Second, it's not a neck, right? It's not like a weak zone. But he did go for the neck. He didn't go for the shoulder plate. And if you do realize like, oh shit, this is not the neck, or it is not a shoulder plate, you gotta readjust, which he didn't. Yes, exactly. As Lucas said, there you go. You didn't die from that, okay? There's a lot of cases, but George Floyd was a case where even cops on the internet, they were like, yeah, the man got murdered, basically. Yeah, the Blizzard, I mean, is it like, should surprise? I guess you're right. But it still shouldn't be allowed, of course, or shouldn't be taken lightly.
But if we asked parents, have your children made you happy? They would all say yes. I would say yes. Everybody I know would say yes. But what their children have brought into their lives in many ways is anxiety, stress, and financial trouble that they would not have experienced.
See, I thought I was happy, but let me tell you how misguided I was after doing my research. Now, for those of you who have decided that you don't want to have kids, this is not about you. This is about Vox taking women who do want to have kids and making them not want to have kids.
Yep. So see, like, that's why I like the guy. It's not like a lot of people think that these videos are like a targeted. Vox is, but when you think like, oh, he's going to make an argument about like you have to have children. No, it's a life decision. But when, for example, I don't try to convince people. I'll tell you my experience, and if you like it, that's it. But making these video essays as like, oh, you shouldn't have kids or not. No. One thing is making a video about telling people to feel comfortable with that decision. Another thing is saying like, oh, this is positive and you need to do it or no, right? This whole pressuring shit is, I don't like it at all. Hey, Ivan, I see you know, like basically every comment section that has to do with FNF or Ivan Preach. I swear to God, you must be famous. But I'll read your chat in a bit. Hold on. Fox News, if a woman has a sexual harassment complaint, they are given money to tell. Yeah, that does happen in a lot of companies. But usually companies have that response to everything, right? If you had some traumatic experience, they will pay you money. But yes, obviously that does happen to women, and that does create an argument for feminism. When I heard about Bill Cosby's suit at Blizzard, I wasn't even remotely surprised. Well, I was surprised by how well-timed that shit was, I guess. Because even back then, we already knew the shit about Bill Cosby, right? He didn't get murdered, but okay. Well, manslaughter, okay. It wasn't a case of like, I wanted to kill him, I understand. Okay? And there's a lot of people who bring racism when there was no indication of racism. But did he deserve at least to lose the job and face some time? I think so, man. That's not how you should proceed as a cop. Fentanyl is in his body were overdose level ones, but he didn't die from an overdose. One thing is if he was arrested and then died of overdose, I would give you a point there, but he didn't die in overdose, right? You're using this argument that like he was already on the danger of dying to excuse the fact that people sped up that process, right? That's not how it works, okay? If it was like a lucky bump in the head that caused an aneurysm or an aneurysm to explode, something like that, that's different, right? Or he had an overdose on the seat of the car, that's different. But pressing the neck of someone can kill. Goes without saying, you can't do that shit. If someone dies, you decided to fuck up at the wrong time. But I saw the full 10-minute video of his arrest. Not really. Donut operator, basically any cop on the internet, on YouTube, they will basically tell you like, yeah, we're not trained to do that kind of shit. In fact, we're told to not to do that kind of shit, and he still did it. It's a negligent behavior. I don't think he intentionally wanted to kill the guy, okay? I don't think he deserves more than just jail. A lot of people just wish the worst on people. I'm not that kind of guy. But does he deserve to be at least face some time? I do. I'm gonna go sleep. Oh, there you go, Louca. Thanks for being here. Didn't expect the stream to be this long. It's usually always that long. Have you ever had a stream that is less than 2 hours with me? Never. See you next time. No problem, man. Pay gap got different levels to it, but it's not really a thing. A lot of the choices aren't taken into account. It's literally illegal to pay women less. Yes, especially, for example, even Portugal took a measure when it comes to this. Like, they have to justify if there's a pay differences, a wage difference. And most of the companies so far, they were like able to explain why, you know, someone, it's not even just for women. Basically, if there's a difference in the same job position, they have to explain why. And most companies were able to explain it quite well in a covered way. So they realize like, yeah, this is not really something that happens. Maybe in some countries it does, right? But a lot of Western ones, I think that's already put to bed. Exactly, like I said, Kemi, I said that shit. Like, if women are cheaper, then everyone would hire women. Like, this is an argument that defeats everything. Unless you have some nuance that I'd like to know. But basically, if they are cheaper, they would be hired. Like, I wouldn't even think twice. But that's not the case. Hiring women is actually quite expensive because you have to consider maternity leave. Yes, there's paternity leave for men, but they usually don't take it, okay? And we're going to discuss this in this video if we get to that point, basically. Yes, when you reacted to another video. Oh, I guess so. Maybe. But I think I decided to end because I was tired of some shit. Wait, what? My cousin was in the military for a decade. The amount of times a female co-worker had gotten people killed was in the hundreds. I mean, Hillary Clinton kind of did that, but we can't really blame the fucking extremists or her for the extremists wanting to kill people. I don't think that's fair. But what do you mean by that? What is that? You got to be more specific. The wage gap was debunked in 2016, yeah. I don't believe in it, okay? From what I've seen from the data that I was provided, the explanation is all there. But we're going to address in this video.
From a man's perspective, this is, again, literally the only reason to get married anymore, and feminism is trying to destroy that.
Yeah, are we going to ignore the guy who sent him to war or to die? Yeah, we should ignore that. Yeah, we can't forget that shit. That we always like to pin down, like, that's a very specific, it's one of those cases that you got to look at the government, not the people, right? Not even your military cousin, whatever. It has to do mostly with the fact that, okay, who caused this? Government. Oh, okay. Most of the government is men. Oh, okay. But here's the thing. It's not even that the men can be victims, because men are victims of these high-powered men, right? Because we are the ones who are sent to war. But it doesn't make it a woman's issue. Like, oh, the sun, wars on our one. We got to blame someone. Who are going to blame for wars? Women. Like, no.
let's take a look at the research that Vox brings.
The wage gap hasn't been debunked. Like all things Republicans cannot argue against, so they redefined it. No, that's not a redefining situation. I'm sorry, I really can't agree on that one. It's not a case of redefining. It's literally something that the things that people say like, oh, women do with women this happens, and people went like, no, it doesn't. The case of the 70 cents for a dollar thing, the fact that people think that actually is about wage gap when it actually has to do with income gap, that study that a lot of people rely on, the 70 cent shit, it has to do with income. It has to do with the fact that they even included people who are unemployed, women who are unemployed, which is more than men on average, because women still take the role of staying at home when they have kids, right? Maternity leave also matters. And obviously when someone takes maternity leave, let's imagine for a year, you're going to lose a year of experience. Someone is going to overtake you in your company, and who will most likely do that shit is going to be a man. Like, nah, she's not trolling. I understand why she would think that, but when it comes to the debunking situation, no, it's been debunked. It's not something that is subjective or whatnot. It is objectively been debunked statistically. Now, does it still happen? I guess, like, yeah, some companies might still have that kind of shit. You know, people who, there might be companies who don't hire black people. That is not, like, crazy for me to think about, but on a large scale, no. Well, if you consider the West, at least. We're considering the West for every situation, okay? We're not going to talk about the Middle East, which is obviously a mess, and feminism there is, like, 100% needed, obviously. Howdy, X-Punk, how you doing, man? Long time no see. In that case, no long time no see. Women usually earn less because they work less. If they get pregnant, so that leaves them less opportunities. There you go. I don't read the fucking chat, people. I really don't. You just pick up the... I guess it's common sense, right? It's something that people think about. Yeah, like, obviously, if women take a maternity leave for a year, you're gonna get... Like, even I... If I take... Let's imagine I stop working for a year, even if it's justified and I get paid for it. My boss is not going to find a reason for me to get a raise so soon because I haven't done shit for a whole year. He understands why I did it, but he might not pay me a raise because I didn't do shit for 1 year. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Women actually nowadays do make more... And that's where we talk about... Like, I gotta show... I mean, we're deviating a lot, but fuck it. This is interesting. But it was that Avon Priest video about dating down, where women are actually making more than men, and they're shameful of that. They actually wanna, like, they feel like they gotta date men of lower structure, lower position, because they make less now. It was this video.
We talked about it at the beginning of the show, and it looked like the fellas had a lot to say about it. Finding love is not that easy, right? And it's especially hard in this economy. And guess what? Many women say they are finding it very hard to find a man who makes as much as they do. A study by Cornell University found that the country's declining marriage rate is due to the lack of financially eligible bachelors. Women are actually outpacing men with education, and this is changing the age-old mentality that men are the breadwinners. In turn, the gig or small gigs economy and lack of good jobs out there have left the ladies single and disgruntled. And researchers say they are seeing a trend of women dating down.
When men do it, we're breadwinners. When women do it, they're dating down.
Yeah. So it goes without saying that I honestly don't believe in the whole idea of like, oh, women are still making... No. Women are getting like, what women are realizing that all of a sudden making more money does create less opportunities, and I think they actually mentioned this in FNF, and God, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it's true. They did address that in a very good way, and it wasn't like an argument they pulled really on a relevant time, which was addressing the fact that when women make more money, their candidates for dating or marrying decreases, right? The number of candidates that they like or they would like to marry becomes lower, because what women usually do look for is at least men with financial stability. Again, we're talking about the majority of women, we're not talking about all, but the majority, right? Which is not really even a superficial thing, it's understandable. But what women need to understand, if you're making more money than men, then maybe you're going to be the one who has to work and is going to stay at home. But there's a lot of women who want both things, and it's not possible. You gotta choose one, right? And I guess that's only a problem on an individual case. Oh, I'm sorry, Robert Kitty. I didn't read your shit. I'm sorry. Morning. How you doing? Here is like, as you can see from the time, quite late. So women shouldn't have kids to be successful in their careers. That's not. Here's the thing. That's a decision. Okay, so you have 20 hours. Oh shit. No, we can literally use a day. 24. You have 24 hours, right? And let's imagine that in those 24 hours, instead of spending, let's imagine that you can not, like, you don't sleep. In 24 hours, you decide to rest for 18 hours instead of working 18 hours. What is going to be the situation where you make more money? But then you're going to have a situation that maybe you're not going to have money, but you're going to have at least mental health. Even though not working can be quite devastating to a lot of people. I think most people would prefer to not work than to work if it wasn't for the money situation. It's a decision. Obviously, children will take away your chances of being successful in your career. Even for men, this happens, right? At least men who are actually good dads, because you still have to spend time with them, have family vacations. Of course. I don't think that's something that is controversial. Now, obviously, if you want to make a decision to have kids and still have a good career, that's possible, but it's going to be very much more tough than a guy who doesn't have kids or he's not the one taking care of it. Sorry. Oh, my dogs are going to start barking for some reason. The dogs in this street, I'm sorry about that. Where was I, man? I fucking feel lost now. Men can have kids, no problem, but women, you touched on one of the main problems with the pay gap. That's not really a problem. It is what it is. What are you suggesting? Because you can be a woman who doesn't... You can be like in this video, literally what we see here is that you can get paid better. And if your husband is comfortable with it, he is the one who stays at home. Problem solved. But you need that. You can't possibly expect to get experience in career, right? You can have a better career by staying at home. You can't do that. Sure, you're doing a very important job, which is to educate children, but you can't expect your workplace to be like, no, we value that shit too. They can do that, but most companies will not do that shit because they are for profit. And that's what companies are for, mostly. So obviously, if you're not bringing in income, they're not going to give you any. There's a share kind of thing. Like if you work a lot, or at least you provide a lot of profit, you're most likely on a position to get a raise. It's not that women shouldn't have kids to be successful. It is just going to be tougher. That's the difference. That's not, no one is saying like, oh, you can't have kids. The difference is you can have kids. It's just going to be tougher. As with men who have to take care of children, for example. This can literally happen with men too, and I'll tell you exactly the same thing. If men stay at home to take care of the kids, once they come back to the workplace, it's going to be tougher to pick up. It's extremely competitive. I mean, what do you perceive as wage? I'm sorry, maybe I'm using the wrong words as well. Wage is like, does it involve salary? Is that not the same thing? Because Robert Kitty here is saying that it's a salary gap. Because I believe that wage is salary, but then income is different, right? At least from what I've seen. So career choices. If I get to lead in a major movie and Angelina is my co-lead, she will make more money than me. Why? Because she has more star power as an actor. Even though I'm her co-lead. There you go. Or she is your co-lead. I'm sorry. Maybe I butchered that shit. Women make more important. That doesn't mean there is a gender pay gap. Well, but if it is the opposite, why would it be a pay gap? Let's take a woman who makes 100,000 to a man making 40,000. I'm not understanding the comparisons. Women can do whatever they want. The problem is they don't want to be responsible for their choices, and the men's society cater to all their wants and needs. The fact women make more important actually does prove there is a gender pay gap, and men are paid less for the same job. It's all about, like, most of the time, especially with porn, it has to do with demand and offer, right? There's more men who are willing to be porn actors than women. That's usually what drives up the price. But yeah, there's a reason behind that, right? There's a gap, but there's a reason. And I can assure you that women do have an income gap, but there's a reason behind it. It's not something that people just like, oh, we don't like women, boom, right? On a grand scale. Women can do whatever they want. The problem is men with political power or power in the company believe women don't want to be responsible. But again, those are completely different to a discussion of, is wage gap a thing as in like in the grand scale? I don't think anyone will say that like, oh, it doesn't happen ever. It does happen sometimes where people think that women are not as like Blizzard, right? But on the grand scale, that's what most people are talking about debunked. No one's saying like it never happens at all, ever. I don't mind if my husband stays at home. I just want to make sure my children are good. My children would be my top priority. There you go. It's about decisions. It's not that you can't make as much money, but it's going to be tougher. I don't mind if my husband stays at home. I just... Oh, I read that shit. Sorry about that. Women want to blame men instead of working harder. I don't worry. The data supports one of us on this topic. So top women on the US are discouraged from having kids if they want to excel in their careers because of the economy. That's why, yeah, I agree with that. That's exactly what I'm saying. If you want to have, of course it's discouraged, because if you have to spend time with your kids, that means that you're not getting experience. Companies don't want that. But that's about you making your decision. Do I want to value my kids or do I want to value my career? Even a man will have to make this decision a lot of times. My dad, for example, sometimes had to quit on family vacations because he wanted to keep his fucking company alive. You know, it's tough. But when it comes to that, it's choices. You just gotta make a compromise or choose one way or the other. Have kids, have a career. You can have both, so it's just gonna be easy. For example, once I start working and I do this YouTube shit, it's gonna be tougher if I don't want to change my upload rate. But it's gonna be tougher. It doesn't mean that it's impossible. In fact, a lot of people grow up on YouTube like that. We need to change the economy. Well, how are you going to do that? The economy is not really something that we can change. It's something that already... It's like saying, what would be the recommendation? Just print out more money. Like the same thing that people mention when it comes to inflation. Like that's usually something the kids mention, but there's a lot of people who honestly believe like, oh, we would pick up at some point. Like, no, that's not how economy works. Economy as of right now, unless you can think of a whole new system, which would be tough, you gotta adhere, is that a word? No, I'm sorry. Get in line with the current economic situation. Meaning, if money is valued by its rarity, you can't print out more money. If you print out more money, it becomes useless. Ergo, inflation, right? You can't change the economy. It's the way that it works. You can't possibly ask companies to be like, now we're going to ignore your year that you spend with your kids and assume that you would be as good as this in 1 year. Like, you can't do that. You really can't do that. I don't think you can change it. I mean, maybe you can. I just don't have the answer. If you do, I guess that would be a really crazy proposition that we really need. Women are less likely to accept overtime, which is another reason. Yes, that is true statistically. Silva, we're both Portuguese. Yes. Ask yourself this. How many Portuguese women date Brazilian men compared to Portuguese men dating Brazilian women? Yeah. Women rarely date down. That is absolutely true. For those who might not understand this, Brazilians are obviously considered rare. Not rare, but you know, I don't want to use the word like exotic or some shit like that, but I'm saying like, you know, most men will be like, I don't care. But women, yeah, women can be picky, and that's absolutely fine. It's your freedom to do whatever you want. But there's consequences to that, I guess. The pay gap is consequence of the economy, made up of economy policies enforced by the government. Not really. It's usually by the offer-demand situation, which is created by the public. We can change that. Compare the economic mobility of women in the US to in Canada, different economies. But that's because of their job positions. It has nothing to do with like what do you do with men and women, but mostly to do with what do you offer to the general public. You can't force women in IT jobs, for example, right? What you gonna do? Like, oh, I want to be a social worker. No, you don't. As a woman, you gotta take a higher position. Like maybe they don't want to be higher positions. In Canada, that's what they offer: liberty to choose whatever you want. That's why women have mobility. But it doesn't really compare to like, oh, because they make more. No, it's mobility. Doing whatever they want. Wage is salary. There you go. I thought that maybe I was misinterpreting that. The problem is also when a lot of women earn more than men, they believe that they are better than the men, even when the men have supported them. Man, I never, the videos that I suggest are never covered, but I guess it's fine. But there is still a wage gap in Canada, so they didn't solve it. Even when the men have supported them and stayed home. Oh, I'm sorry. I just cut the fucking comment like that. I can't do that. The problem is also when women earn more than men, they will. Oh, I did read that. Men make much less than women in porn and are usually they have much bigger burden of performance. That's why for men, porn works almost solely by referral. Yeah, you need to know someone. Referral? Whatever, however you say that. Watch Sasha's Grey stream with Coda Miko. Oh, really? That happened? Shit. They talked about this extensively. No. You can't say that we're exploiting women sexually when they're making the money, okay? I hate when people do that shit. I hate when people do, they're exploiting women in porn. Excuse me, how many times do you guys see the name's actor, like the actor's name, in the title? Now compare that to the amount of times that you see the name of the girl in the title. Most men in porn are treated like objects. Am I the only one who believes like things like this? It's not women who are treated like objects in porn, it's men. POVs, right? You never see the fucking dude. There's no female POVs, which I understand a lot of women maybe like that shit, but it doesn't exist. Men are the ones being treated like like a walking dick. And you know, girls are the ones that are shown face and shit. So I wouldn't really say that exploitation because it's benefiting women. I wouldn't you choose that argument. There's choice in everything. Parents can have both if they are willing to compromise and take. Man, if we don't have any DMC, I'm gonna make this public. I think there's a really good discussion. Trying to also make it maybe short stream, I guess. I don't know how this works. If YouTube, like, if once I make it public, I don't know. We'll see. So you guys can comment on this video and people will see it. There you go. Still in the early stage of it's proven that successfully that a baby can be grown in an artificial womb. Oh yeah, I've seen that shit. It's still very early. Women aren't forced into the adult industry. It's their choice to do so. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's an exploitation. I think that's so stupid when people be like, not really what Remy is saying, but mostly to do with how people absolutely like to treat women as children, especially in porn, which is really weird. No, for example, not Sasha Grey, who was it? Mia Khalifa, right? When she was like, oh, Bank Bros made too much money with me. Like, she signed a contract. Like, oh, but she was 19 or whatever the fuck. She was an adult. I also started driving at that age. I could kill someone with my car. I'm liable for what I do. So it was really weird for me to see, like, when Mia Khalifa had no reason to like, in fact, it was proven in court that she had no fucking motive for the lawsuit even. But to see people supporting that shit, like, it's so confusing to me. Women can be exploited, but and I guess in certain situations when you pick up a certain situation in porn, yeah, I guess. But when it comes to them making money, they're not being exploited at all. We are. New system, governments supported leave. Now here's what I agree with you, Remy. I absolutely agree with you when it comes to that. Okay, I do believe that the maternity leave should be focused, like, should be a responsibility of the government. Should not be a case of like, it's a company, like, it's a right. So why does the right have to be covered by the company? It should be the government who pays this shit. So yeah, I do agree with that. Health care for every citizen, yeah, yeah, okay. So those are things that I do believe, but that's not really changing the economy per se, but that's more of a political system. Excuse me, Jesus, hold on. I gotta take a pause sometimes. These policies will give women less burden and more economic mobility. The government-supported leave for like maternity leave, I don't even have the women in consideration. It's mostly to do with the companies, because if you relieve this pressure from companies to have to pay for maternity leave, they will hire women. Think about it, right? The current way that it is done in Portugal, for example, is that the company has to be the one providing the maternity leave. Instead of doing this shit, how about the government takes that? Sure, increase the taxes since all companies now won't have to deal with maternity leave, but they have to, like, let's say they increase the taxes, but increase taxes for everyone, for every company. Meaning that even if you choose women for your personnel, personnel roster, that's for players, role, I guess, for your like list of employees, it doesn't matter who you choose, women or men, you're still paying the same taxes. I think maternity leave is something that does hurt women because companies are not motivated to, or they feel like it's not a good investment to get a woman because I'll have to pay maternity leave, which is a lot. And I will not have a worker actively working. So yeah, I believe that does help women in a way because they will get hired more frequently because they are not seen as a liability. I do agree with that. Yeah, when it comes to exploitation of money for like men with money, we see the child support thing. We're not even gonna get into that. Men that want children want what best for them. And having a good mom and dad will make you more successful than only having one parent, of course. I'm back. I was watching the new Chloe video. Chloe? Who's Chloe? Also, by the way, Alisha, I'm gonna make this public, so if you want to watch this later, no problem. Don't feel pressure to be here. Remy Art, sorry, our culture has no problem with women making more for sex. Sorry, our culture has no problem with women making more for sex than men. My mistake. I don't think a lot of people have an issue with that. I think most people understand why that happens. There's a higher demand for women. That's it. Yeah, Mia. Yeah, no, everything that was about Mia Khalifa was proved to be a lie, yes. Dude, I can just do a face cam. You guys don't even, we don't even watching the fucking videos. But I like this. Something that big streamers really usually can't do. Unless they rely on super chats or something. She wanted to leave porn so bad that she divorced her husband after opening an OnlyFans. Wow, that happened? And started to make more money than him. That happened? I don't know. I don't have information for that. I'm not going to talk. Government already pays maternity leave in Canada. All right, as far as I know. There you go. I do believe that's a good a good thing. That's economic policies being purposed to address wage gap. You agree with solutions, but not that is a problem. And healthcare is one of the biggest expense. I think you're covering, like I said, as I explained, I believe it's a solution, but not really to the problem that you're addressing. Mostly to do with the fact that it relieves the company from the pressure of specifically that solution that you gave, which is not, you and me, we're not the first ones to think of that, but it's mostly logical, right? When it comes to support, it should come from the government, not a company. Even just by that logic, it should happen. Like, it's what should happen. But yeah, it is good for the company because, they will not get charged extra for hiring a woman, and a woman will have better choices and opportunities, I guess, of employment. But that's not really a solution to the whole economic. Like, it's just something that I believe like it's the correct thing to do. It's not the company that needs to take care of that shit. It's a human right, meaning government. Supposedly, I guess. I think that women nowadays have unbelievably high standards. Every single study shows that is true. Which one was that I saw that was crazy? Yes, basically they asked men, okay, would you date a woman or would you marry a woman who fulfills 80% of your demands? A large percentage of men said yes. But when it was women, like, would you date or marry a man who provided 80% of your demands, like what you expect in a guy? The majority said no, they wanted more. So yeah, I guess there are high demand, which I'm completely fine with that, but it's a kind of a, what is it? The word that I'm looking for. I was going to say choice, but that's not what I want to say. I think that women nowadays. Okay, there you go. Michelle, my baby boy took me out. I think Michelle was there to read, wasn't it? Life's good, yeah. When you spending time with your own is basically the real thing that you need. And if they are far harsh, wait, what? Oh, okay, there you go. Knock it off. What did I say? Mom and dad is better than one parent. Isn't true. Wait, what? Oh no. It is two parents are better. Oh, wait, okay. Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying. I like male and female role models. I think that. Here's the thing. When it comes to like adoption of gay like with gay couples, go ahead. It's better than having nothing at all. But I believe, like, you know, I think the system. Here's the thing. Obviously, you can have an abusive father. You can have an abusive mother. Those situations are not ideal at all. They're incredibly bad. But no, I think having a mom and dad is way different than having a dad and a mom and a mom. Most of the cases, it's not going to be a problem either case. Honestly, I don't care. Right? It is definitely that it is two parents are better than one, but mom and dad I think is the ideal of the ideal, right? That doesn't make it wrong, any other thing. But 3 parents are better than that. And 12 parents is amazing for a kid. No. That's when we start having a crowd. And the crowd is incredibly misleading. Here's the thing. First and foremost, kids cannot have 12 role models. They will not care about the 12. I think, I'm not going to say that the number is like, oh, it has to be 2, but usually it's like a great balance kind of thing. A mom and a dad. Even my sibling didn't provide the same kind of like leadership, like not leadership, what you call it? The same kind of role model as my father and my mother. It's completely different. Even though she is a woman, for example, I didn't like really seek her as a female role model. You can if she like if your sibling is your only option, but I don't feel like she would ever replace my mom. You know what I'm saying? Basically. Jesus, what the fuck is happening with the chat? I feel like I didn't read a few things. Why is YouTube doing this shit? Oh, top chat, okay. Oh my god, that's okay. There's a lot of chat that I didn't read, but YouTube is not my fault. Okay, YouTube just likes to, I don't know. I don't know what top chat means. So I gotta always put live chat. Fuck, I can't. Now I really can't understand the context of these. Okay, I'm pretty much lost. Let me just jump to the things that don't need context. Bar skanks looking for casual sex have no standards. Men who go with skanks have no standards either. I would say that much. So let them do themselves. I don't care. It's their lives. Artificial wombs won't be a thing. I just don't think that artificial wombs would be positive in any way, even for men or women. Jesus, that's us becoming less human every fucking day, basically. Are we comparing porn star? I don't even know where that porn shit came from. I think that most people watching porn are watching for the woman's face, body, from beginning of time, or yeah, I think it is a demand offer kind of thing. No one cares about women making more for sex work. Oh, you're talking about it? Okay. Yeah, so TikTok is usually a fucking fest of like terrible people, so not surprised. Yeah, there are fewer male stars, so those should have been paid more. But it's about demand and offer, right? Most men are available for sex or for, I guess, but for porn than women. You know, it's usually women are much more shy about it, and understandable. But yeah. I think it has to do with the man and offer, which that's why I'm not so pissed about women making more in porn. It seems logical to me. 12 parents will be better than 1 man and 1 female. I don't agree. I think that at some point it becomes a crowd and children start becoming a little bit more confused than anything else. Two-parent households are the best. Studies in California show. There's also in this video, man. There's a lot of things that this video covers, but we're not going to get to that. My 400-pound woe-addicted friend has casual sex every day with a different pair of skanks. There you go. See, I'm not going to trust that man with life decisions. No disrespect to your friend. Bar skanks have no standards. They will drop trophy. And again, if you take it, I really can't judge them because you're on the same boat. Well, okay, so I think it is a lie that all women who earn... Yeah, no. When you put the word all, yeah. So earn more than men, treat those men badly. I don't believe that either. Like, bad women... There's a lot of factors that will influence that, but all, even most, ugh, that's a huge reach. 90% of the men I've ever dated earn less than me. Doesn't matter to me as long as they have jobs. Yeah, I guess so. I think it is mostly to do what people... It's not even treating bad, it's just looking down. They will not even date. I guess that's what people are talking about, I guess. Mother and father produce more adjusted kids like every school shooter. That's a fallacy of A and B, right? That's not really... Supply and demand. The demand is for women, not men. No, the men would be for... Well, yes, the men is for women. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of confusing. Oh, wow. We're just going to have a skyscraper here as a fucking background, apparently. What I tell most of the guys that I know is get a prenup or make it so that if they do get divorced or separate, the chick can take to the cleaners. In my case, for example, I would be the one finessing my girl. So fuck it. I'm gonna be offended if she wants to sign up a prenup. Fuck that. No, I think prenups are me. Honestly, marriages nowadays, I don't know. Unless you're having a kid, even that, I don't know. I'm just not really into it. I think YouTube hit it, man. Now I do have live chat, I can see it. But even that, YouTube will delete some shit. Just don't use risky words, I guess. Even though I don't have an auto moderator, which is crazy. Why should you be paid to have a kid, though? Sorry, this confuses me. If you can't work, why should you be paid? You don't have to have a kid. Shouldn't be encouraged. No, I mean, in Europe, that's not really an argument to be had, or in the West. There's not a lot of overpopulation in the West. Even though I would not like more people, but there's not overpopulation. Now, there is a poor distribution of people. There is overpopulation, but just not in the same way everywhere. But the paying thing, you're talking about the maternity leave. Again, I don't feel like companies should be the ones paying, but I do think that, yeah, but maternity leaves are not a bad idea, but that has to come from the government. And even if that does come down to having to pay taxes, those companies having to increase taxes, I guess it's fine. It's better. Stay away from the ism? Oh, ism. Extremism, basically. Nazism, fascism, nationalism. Embrace Marxists, worker around the world, unite. Wait, what about feminism? Isn't that an ism? Whoops. Yeah, I wouldn't marry either. But that's a personal choice, honestly. It's not nothing against women because, again, like I said, I'm dating a girl and I'm not expecting to stop that anytime soon. But if we get married, it's fine. It's just something that, you know, it is not top of my priorities, really. Even her, she admits, like, she just wants to be called fiancé. I guess she has a thing for the name. Well, all right. I guess everyone has a kink, so. That is a factual lie. Every school shooter, I don't think you can claim every. Let's be honest there. But school shooters came from a broken home. Usually they do have a broken home. Obviously, like I said, a mother and a father, but they are both abusive. It's better. It would be better for that kid to be alone. Of course. That's not even fair. This is like a situational. It's not covered by statistics. Even school shooters are a rarity. Even in the United States, believe me or not. Just don't get married because the moment you do, you sign off your affect. I guess the current laws, yeah. And that even happens to, like, we're seeing now with people like to call it manimony, which is still alimony, let's be honest. Like, these terms are so cringe. Just don't marry if you have a lot of earnings and shit like that. Like, and you only knew this person. No matter how much you trust someone, it's a problem. It's a risk. Bro, I remember a month ago, it was just me and 2 other people in the chat. Now, yeah, we blew up. I still do gaming for quite a little bit on the weekdays, but yeah, talking about this shit. I love talking about this shit, and it seems like I found the people who like to talk about that shit. Even if we disagree sometimes, I love this shit. Every school shooter came from a Christian home with a middle-class coal mining dad. Is that true? That seems a very specific shit. How? I mean, I think Remy is maybe being sarcastic or something. How is this fucking rate? I thought I had 20 people. How much do I have? I can't check on YouTube all of a sudden. 25. There you go. For 25, you are letting this fucking chat up. That's nice. Keep it coming. There you go. Oops, feminism, socialism are okay, I guess, played by... no, I caught you. No, you can't. Honestly, I don't like isms either. But... Even socialism to me is like, there's still not a good political system in my eyes, right? The way I see it. Alright, I really want to move with the video, man. No, but I got it. Marxism, socialism, communism, and feminism. This time, YouTube didn't censor. The vast majority of people in prison were raised by a single... Ow, what the fuck? That was a click on my headphones. Alright, I'm just going to keep on, okay? Otherwise, we're going to just be stuck here. This video is interesting.
This data comes from a survey done across multiple countries about happiness, comparing people who are parents and people who aren't parents. Here's what they found.
Out of the 20 countries that we studied, the United States had the largest gap where parents report that they're significantly less happy than non-parents.
How do you ask survey questions that get at this?
We're not asking people, are you happy you had kids? We're asking people, are you happy? And just asking them to rate their own level of happiness.
It's not just the United States. We see the happiness gap.
I'm sorry, but Ireland being that high is a meme. Greece, UK, yeah, well, Belgium. I kind of wanted to see the positive ones as well. See, I guess I understand what he's saying. Like, I would like to see the positives. Why can't I see the fucking positives? You literally create a spectrum here that you don't allow me to see the positive. I know you're driving an argument, but it would be nice, even if you want to put like 10 negatives, put like 5 positives so I can have like a benchmark.
In all of these countries, too.
As I said, I went out and purchased the study and read through it.
I hate, like, any study that you have to purchase hides something, right? I understand it's not the author that really forces this. It's usually the what you call it? Publishing company, but fucking hate it, dude. We call that common law in Portugal. Yeah, I don't like that shit. That you're automatically assumed to be married just because you live together and shit like that is so terrible. There's like the government basically telling you, we don't care what you think, you're a couple now, or you're married. No, bro, what? The other party is in the other party. Wait, but even if you're not married, the other party is entitled. Is that what you want to say? I think that we do have. Are we good now? Are we good now? Hold on a second. It's tradition in this stream. It has to happen. We ain't never watching this video, Michelle. It has to. I like to read your shit. I mean, but yeah, whatever this. I don't know when I was cut off, but I was basically. I just don't have the patience for kids, and I think that would be problematic for them. I don't want to be a bad parent, so. My point on male, female, we have data supporting same-sex couples have same outcomes as straight. I don't doubt that, but it's certainly different, right? That it has more to do with economic situation and two incomes rather than one. Sure, but when it comes to development of personality, right? It's not something that it's really like, I'm not saying this is objectively true. This is what I believe, that a mom and a dad are ideal, for what I lived. But maybe let's imagine that maybe one could drive the argument that someone who has two parents or two dads is going to be much more, let's say, respectful of the LGBTQ stuff, for example. Maybe. I'm just saying, like, from what I lived, ideally, yeah, I think that having a mom and dad, huge differences. There was a lot of things I trusted my dad with, and there's things still today that I only trust my mother with. But then, not only, but mostly, you know. And the same thing applies to my dad. So, but yeah, it's better than nothing. That is certainly better than nothing. I can't have this white screen. I gotta move on. Yes, I meant that if you're not married, the other person isn't entitled by law to anything. Okay.
Here's something I found that was interesting right from the introduction. It's referring to parents being less well off emotionally than non-parents. It says, this pattern first emerged in the 1970s, a period marked by significant social and economic changes, including the decline in men's earnings, the increase in women's employment, and the rise of both dual earner and single parent families. Isn't that interesting? These are all changes that resulted from feminism, and we have a study saying it's making people less happy. Thanks, Vox, for showing a study that says...
Oh, what he's implying is that, let me see if I got this right. That with feminism, we started having, pattern emerging in the 70s, that makes sense. Decline in men's earnings, women started making more, there you go. And the rise of both dual earner and single parent families.
Isn't that interesting?
Okay.
These are all changes that resulted from feminism.
Let me get this part.
We have a study saying it's making people less happy. Thanks, Vox, for showing a study that says that people are happier in two-parent homes where one parent works and one parent stays home with the kids. The rest of this paper is a dismal failure that talks about why we need socialism instead of, hey, why don't we just go back to what people were doing when they were happier? It seems super obvious.
I like studies that do this. It's not even that you can like use this study to complain about other people. It's the fact that people who make this study confuse themselves. Jesus, this is so like, look at this. Very incredibly, it just contradicts everything. I read somewhere that if you email the person that wrote the study, yes, I did read that shit. They will usually send you a copy. Yeah, I guess they are allowed to do that shit because it is their text. But if they want to have like published, you know, the publishing company will have the money, and obviously because of the author being the author, they pay them a little bit. But yeah, most of the times you can like this was useful in college. You could just request, and since Portugal is like a close thing, yeah. Luckily, I never really found myself in a position for that because I didn't care about my essays. I had good grades as is. I didn't care. It is different in the sense that same-sex couples don't try to convince their kids that straight couples are devil worshippers. Again, generalizations, I guess. I really can't say if that's a reality or not because I've never heard of it. I understand that there's like a lot of straight couples, of course, that do that shit, but can you promise me that no gay couple ever says like, yo, straight people are disgusting? Like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of homosexual people that have bad ideas about straight people as well. I think it goes without saying. That is a factual lie. The California study clearly showed a big difference between children raised by straight, gay, or lesbian parents with lesbians scoring really bad. In California, you're lying about the study. Read more studies. I am talking about a consensus. The study showed that 2 women were more unwilling to accept a straight child and that they would put their child through bigger mental, verbal, and psychological abuse. Here's the thing. How did they come to that conclusion? Did they ask them, like, would you abuse your child? I don't think that's... I'm asking because... usually I don't like studies that ask things, right? Because people can lie and stuff like that, but sometimes what usually happens is that studies also rely on like asking some questions, and the way that people answer, they will determine something that is not correct or that is not like logical to those people or anyone else. To the people who are conducting the study, it makes sense, but to everyone else, it doesn't. So listen, I'm not even gonna touch those studies because I'm not really aware of that.
I mean, look how sexist this study is. It says here, moreover, the cost of children in the United States are increasingly borne by mothers, with recent estimates showing 4 in 10 households with children are supported solely or primarily by mothers' earnings.
I like how this show is trying to impose, like, trying to suggest that, oh my god, women are being so oppressed when it comes to the, like, payment in, or the pay, professional pay, that's what I will say. But then, if you read this shit, it says, like, 4 in 10. Also, why did it put 4 in letters and then 10, whatever. 4 in 10 households, meaning that 60% are still being supported by men financially, even though women started making more money. So this actually does the opposite of what they're trying to suggest. This actually still proves that even today, it is putting an incredible burden on men. If you trust her or not, it's not really the point. The point is, they are not being concise with the article. It's like the article is not being concise with itself. It's really confusing.
Okay, but doesn't...
try to put links. I'm not sure if YouTube was going to allow, but I think it does. Yeah, it does. Louca just shared a link, so it should be good.
Doesn't that also mean that children in 60% of households, which is the majority,
yes,
are being primarily or solely supported by men?
Yeah.
Men are carrying the majority of the financial load, but somehow that's oppressive to women? What? If you don't like the fact that women are now paying more for childcare, then you can thank feminism. How many of those...
Yeah, I think my biggest issue is there. It's just simple the fact that study is contradicting itself.
Households where children are primarily supported by women are like that because they are single mother households. Feminism has been promoting and incentivizing single motherhood for decades now. Also, in the likely much smaller demographic where women are the breadwinners in a 2-parent household, isn't this a good thing? That most likely means that she is paying more money because she earns more money than the man. These people are literally complaining about the end result of what they fought for decades. You don't just get to reap all the benefits with none of the costs.
Yeah, I do agree. I usually agree with this. Usually, as in like huge. Because one thing that, and when I say women, understand that I'm not saying all, by the way. It's going to be tiring to say, but I'm gonna go the extra effort to say some women, okay? But some women have this belief that, you know, what they had in the past, for example, the fact that they couldn't vote, right? That now they can vote is a good thing, and it is possible for you to get rights without having the duties of such. Nowadays, for example, the fact that women have the right to vote, that also means that you have the duty to vote. Even though, for example, that's not really my personal belief when it comes to the duty of voting. There's a lot of like, I don't believe that a right can be a duty at the same time. A right can push duties and a duty can push rights, but it's usually not the same thing. But a lot of people drive this narrative that if you don't vote or whatever, it's like your citizens' responsibility to vote. And now that women have, for example, the voting will be subject to, and this is not really a concern to a lot of people, it's not really an issue, but again, I'm driving this to, you know, I'm using this to drive the context, is the fact that, yes, now that you got a right, you have a responsibility. Now, on the example that we're addressing here, the fact that now that you work, you're making more money, maybe that now means that maybe the man is going to be the one staying at home, and you're going to be who's going to be the one primarily supporting the child or children. Obviously, that is something that can be negative to women, but that comes from a positive thing. But you can't be like, no, I don't want to, like, I don't want to support my, like, I want to have a 50-50 when you're not doing 50-50. You're getting more money than him, right? So for ages, obviously we had men who contributed, like they're making basically all the income. So all the money that goes for the family comes from him. Now you're gonna have to replace that role, if you want that role, of course. Surveyed more than 50,000 Americans between the ages of 18 and 39, asking them questions about the upbringings. I can link articles if you want. to suggest you try to educate yourself. A lot of data to support my argument. Just Google it. I can Google for you. If you provide, you guys talking about a lot about studies. If you want to provide, I feel like that's an adequate thing to do. You can't tell people, oh, just Google yourself. Like, no, if you have studies about something and you vouch for them, then you gotta link them or be the one supplying it. Hey, even though, stop with the idiot shit and stuff like that, okay? Tone it down. Let's not be hostile. This is a discussion. Don't start calling people idiots.
The problem with this study is that, at least for the data they showed on Vox, they don't separate out the different types of parents. So if you are a single mother, you are in the same group as the two-parent household. Well, of course single mothers are going to report less happiness than non-parents. Does your happiness gap disappear if you exclude single mothers from the group? They already suggested that the destruction of the traditional family is making parents less happy, so I think if this study were more honest, we'd be seeing different results.
I gotta say, I look at this data and I think to myself, yikes. And then I think I probably still want kids. Like, it's such a weird... Why?
Yeah, why would you still want to have kids?
See what I just don't like these people. Why would you want such? Because there's still positive things and people might still want kids. God damn it, why are people so like, I would never be that kind of person, but like, oh, why? Maybe you can ask like, why'd you feel that? Right, that's different. But saying like, why, with that tone of like, why would you fucking want that? Bro, because people don't think like you. Simple as that. It's so weird to see people with this behavior.
Haven't we told you it's terrible enough? At this point, Vox actually does something good. The next scene talks about the fertility window.
Yes, so I think this is pretty much something that everyone's going to agree with. The fact that fertility on women is... Men also have issues with fertility, but women are much accelerated and aggravated. Not even talking about the menopause kind of thing. It's just a mere fact that after the 40s, the chance of genetic genetic deformation is very likely to happen. Fair enough, but I do take issue when people are mean-spirited, morally corrupt, and treat me like one as a morally incorrect person. Anyway, here's the actual link for the actual study. Remy talks in a more sarcastic way sometimes and shit like that, but that doesn't mean it's mean-spirited.
Takes the time to point out that women don't have forever to have kids, which is quite impressive considering how much feminists typically lie about the fertility window.
What do you feel like are the biggest misconceptions that you hear about the relationship between fertility and age?
That you have all the time in the world. With time, fertility does go down. Your mid to late 20s is actually...
Holy shit. I haven't seen those charts in a while.
With time, fertility does go down.
So 20% by the 20s and 24s, Jesus. 10, 15s after the 34, and only 2% at the 40s or 42s or something. Damn, dude. Yeah, that's a close window, man.
Your mid to late 20s is actually when you're most fertile. It's about 15 to 25%. That can decrease to the mid 30s to about 10 to 15%. And unfortunately, over about age 42 to 44, it can be less than 2%.
Did you hear that? If you have kids in your mid-30s as opposed to mid-20s, your fertility almost gets cut in half. And if you wait until your 40s, then good luck. That's not the only thing you have to worry about when you party all through your 20s and hope to have kids after 35. You also open the door to genetic abnormalities. In this next clip, they visually represent the chances of abnormalities with different colored eggs. You can ignore that because they just end up saying the percentages anyway. This scene is kind of long, so I have to cut it. They start out at 28.
My issue with providing links is that I don't want to waste time. From my perspective, all data supports one conclusion. One Google search off topic, you have to work harder to find the nonsense. I'm sorry. Sometimes like the way you guys write it, maybe it's just my my whole own dumb brain, but I can't decipher what you're trying to say. 15-19 is peak fertility. Yeah. Yeah, that's when you start going, like that's when women start going through. Well, actually, that's not when they start, but it is when they peak.
And show that there's a 23% chance of
obviously. Now, obviously, is it recommended? Like, do you have the financial stability to have a baby from 15 to 19? Of course not. It's a terrible life decision. But you're in your 20s, you're absolutely fine.
genetic abnormalities. These can include things like Down syndrome, but I believe the fertility expert was saying that these will most likely end up as miscarriages as opposed to a birth with genetic defects. The shocking numbers come out when...
I'm sorry for stopping, but the rule of creation, human want to leave something for their legacy. Okay, yes. That's basically what makes more people... That's what drives most people to have kids. Comes down to three things. Write a book, build a house, or have children.
When they hit the late
leave
30s.
a legacy, yeah.
But around age 37 to 38, the chances of having a pregnancy with chromosomal abnormalities is almost 50%.
That is true. Yeah, like there's a natural need for kids, I guess.
A number that's very shocking to people. But, you know, as we advance in age over 42, the chance gets quite high. It's now over 80%.
You don't have forever, ladies. After this, the fertility doctor says some unnecessary racist crap about fertility clinics. There is a disparity in racial access to fertility clinics and people of color are being oppressed. Well, duh, there's a disparity. Fertility treatment is expensive. If you look at how...
Fuck, dude. In vitro is 15,000 to 20. YOLO Portugal, we don't pay for shit. I guess we pay through taxes, of course, but still nothing close to this. We don't even get paid fucking monthly for that shit.
Household income charts, certain races make more money than others. Oddly enough, these income levels coincide almost perfectly with the rates of single motherhood in those communities.
Percentage of births to unwed mothers. Okay, there you go. Yes, the Asians are okay. On the 10%. Yeah, that's yeah. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, there is the... You gotta invert it, okay, if you're watching this properly. I'm sorry if I can't zoom in or something. You gotta invert, meaning that the lower, the worse. I'm sorry, the lower, the better here. But here, the higher, the better. So Asians get paid way more, but they also get a less percentage of births to unwed mothers, meaning in more stable positions. While the black population, yeah, it's here. What is this national thing? Oh, everyone included. Whites stay in third position. Second. Non-Latino white? Oh, does that mean like United, like British and stuff like that, I guess? Wow. Okay, so considering these two the same thing, okay, second. This is national, Latino, Hispanic, and then black. Wow, okay, that's a correlation right there.
Asians have the lowest single motherhood rate and have the highest median household income. So, if you have access to more money, then you're going to have access to more resources. Why Vox decided to bring race into this, I have no idea, because this is about money and broken families, not race.
What can we do to reduce those disparities?
I think the first thing we have to do is acknowledge it. We all have implicit biases that govern how we conduct ourselves and how we react to different people in different situations. The patients that are visiting fertility clinics tend to be white, female, college educated, and wealthy because that's who can afford the treatment.
Yes, the way we solve this problem is to call everyone racist.
Racism in America would by and large be dead today if it were not for certain people and institutions keeping it on life support. Very sadly, one of those institutions is the American education system. Putting critical race theory into our classrooms is not combating racism, it's fanning the flames of what little embers are left.
You see, they pick this game they can just play forever. Rich people are always going to have access to things that other people don't have access to. I'm not exactly sure how that's unfair, considering that most rich people work insane hours and don't get tons of time to enjoy their stuff anyway. Your race does not prevent you from being rich. If you want to make money, then build a valuable skill that is hard to replicate that not many people have. Don't waste your money on garbage or buy things that you can't afford. Build a savings for emergencies and learn how to invest. You can also...
Or play Minecraft on YouTube. That's also going to work. So I read the article about the study, and a large portion of the article talks about how the fact that the parents that are gay might not actually be the cause of the problems. So you're talking about the Ivan's study.
Move to a place where the cost of living is lower. Paying $3,000 a month for a crappy one-bedroom apartment in San Francisco is ridiculous. Move to a place that's cheaper, or preferably a state that's cheaper. This stuff is not magic or unobtainable. You can do this. These people who are telling you that you can't make a living because of your skin color are not your friends. They're trying to demoralize you. Who cares how difficult it is to become successful? You can still do it. All this race baiting does is distract people from the issue, which really harms the people who need the most help, because instead of being taught the fundamentals of building wealth, they are taught to call everyone racist. Stop doing that, and instead...
I don't know, I think he cut the part of the video, so that's why I'm not commenting on that. I'm not sure what if she implied that or not. But I have a very tough definition for the term racist. I think term racist means that you're putting a race above everyone else, right? I wouldn't say that she's being racist. Now, is there race baiting or saying that, you know... It's not even victimization that I'm looking for, but basically having this idea like, oh, if you're black, you don't have a chance. Yeah, I guess it's demoralizing what she's doing. And it comes down to the economics rather than the actual race. It's not really to do with the skin color, but rather to the access to healthcare when it comes to economics, right? As we saw with those charts, which would be correct. So that's why I'm like... Sometimes he goes overboard with the terms that he uses. That's why I'm not like. There was going to be another part where what is it that he overboards with? I think was it when he's. We're gonna keep watching. I'm gonna be able to identify it. But I understand what you're saying. I don't think we saw it, but maybe he cut it. We don't know. The study didn't ask 15,000 people. That would be a very expensive study. That was a red flag that I had about that. 3,000 is more doable. 2012, yeah. Seek studies that are over 2015.
Focus on what actually matters, which is your success. One more thing from our lovely fertility doctor.
And so one of the biggest things I personally would wish for is infertility evaluation and treatment to be covered by health insurance universally.
No. As a guy who gets no benefit from that, I'm not paying for some woman to get in vitro when she's 40 because she waited too long to have kids. If you don't want to have fertility problems, then you should have kids when you're young. I don't think the medical insurance system should be used to force people to pay for everyone else's bad decisions. Our premiums are already high enough.
We always do that shit. Don't we? I mean, who the fuck goes to the hospital? People will fuck up, which could be us. That's not really an argument I already use.
Now, during this documentary, Vox has shown a few different types of families. They want to make sure that everyone is represented when it comes to parenthood, so we have a single mother of 4.
I am a single mother of 4 daughters. There isn't...
Is it the skin color to some extent has to do more... Again, like he was provided, it has to do more with economical background. It's like saying that, for example, the people who commit the most crimes are black because of the skin color. It's not because of the skin color, but it's because they live in poor neighborhoods. Which, go figure, sometimes where you have to steal to survive. That has nothing to do really with the skin color, but rather the background. I think this is the same situation. What this has, like, what actually relates to this is the fact that you can't afford the same access to healthcare as many people. Which you could make a whole argument about private healthcare and stuff like that, but we're going to try to not approach it on that one.
Anyone else coming to share that load with you. But these are the girls. These are my girls where if they saw me tear up, they would go fix up a sandwich and they'd be like, hey, do you want to eat something?
Oh, hold on.
So we have a single mother of 4.
I am a single mother of 4 daughters.
There isn't anyone else coming to to share that load with you. But these are the girls, these are my girls where if they saw me tear up, they would go fix up a sandwich and they'd be like, hey, do you want to eat something?
That all sounds great, but in reality, this single mom is parentalizing her children, which is abuse. You are the parent.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was... Yeah, that's what I think he went overboard. It's not abuse, but I do find it weird. I understand what he's trying to say when people come up with this like, oh, it's okay, you know, as a single mother I can manage because my children are there. Oh, wait, this is about you being for your children, not the opposite. So I did find this part also very weird. How she's trying to not justify, but saying like, oh, it's not that bad. And you use these arguments, it makes it look even worse. Even though I understand being a single mother is not easy, and if it's not your choice, but you still pull it off, that's a fucking amazing right there. And I respect a woman or a man who fucking goes through that shit. But, I don't know her background, okay? But using this argument to be like, no, it doesn't make it sound good, okay? Of course your children will be there for you, or, you know, in a situation when something fucks up. But don't try to justify or say like, oh, being a single mother, you know, can be manageable based on the argument that you have your children. No, like, no, you gotta be the one who's there for them above everything else. If the opposite happens when you have a bad day or something, of course that can happen. We saw with Alisha herself right there, like, you know, tough week, her son took her to dinner. That's not bad. Of course, as a son or as a daughter, you should look up for your parents as well. But when it comes to a young age and when it comes to parenthood and shit like that, of course, you want to provide or at least be there for them instead of the opposite. Maybe at some point once you're very old, the roles will flip, but when it comes to parenthood in the beginning of your life, which, as you saw, she's not old, god damn it. Yeah, I just, confuses me, I guess.
What the fuck?
Holy shit, what the heck? Oh, Alisha again, thank you so much for the $5, god damn it.
Crazy beach.
Have a pleasant day, evening, everyone in the chat, stay well. I'm going to enjoy my last night off. There you go. Go have fun, Alisha. God damn it, you really are gonna surpass MadDog at some point. Thank you so much. You guys are fucking crazy. Thank you so much. Why do you think blacks are so poor? It isn't a random occurrence. That's a different argument, and I'm not saying that. That's basically a train of events. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to this, it's the factor economical situation. Now, if you talk about like, oh, but the economic situation on black people is caused by racial motives, then that's another event, okay? Let's not go with that because we're gonna have to walk back in history a long fucking time. When it comes to this argumentation I'm using, it's relative to what we're talking about, parenthood. We're not really, or I'm sorry, access to healthcare, okay? I'm not saying that, oh, it makes no sense. What I'm saying is, it has to do with economic standpoint above everything else, as we saw with the studies. But of course, if you tell me like, oh, but black people are in a worse position when it comes to access to healthcare because, well, historically speaking, they hadn't had best access to, let's say, financial stability, I would agree. But again, that's another event. There's something that is in the train of events. It's not relating to this specific one. Or if it is, I was making an argument about this one specific. Need to catch up here. Hold on a second. What they also don't report is the same-sex domestic violence. Also, that decade isn't long ago. What I was taught is that you usually don't want to put studies that are 5 years older unless the topic is quite old, right? It isn't a random occurrence. Okay, address that. Ivan, you had to dig into the past for one debunked study. Now try Googling the topic today and reading the consensus today. We know you haven't. Right. There's a reason it's that way. Sure. I'm not addressing that, okay? I'm just addressing the fact that what I was talking about, what was my argument all about. So her bringing that would be irrelevant to this tour's conversation. Unless she wants to go that way back. Wait, what? What about? Wait, what, Alisha? Our results indicate that children raised by same-sex parents from birth outperform children. Outperform in what sense? On standardized test scores at the end. That is, oh my god, that's a case of like correlation versus causation. Jesus, it's like the number of movies that fucking Nicolas Cage made against on a correlation with. What was that? Was a website, wasn't it? That's not even fallacious. That's just something you shouldn't do on practice. Ah man, correlation site or something. Website. That was a website that did that kind of stuff. Was it this one? Yes, there you go. So this is what people classify as ridiculous correlations, okay? That correlation, even if it's in the study, it's broken. On the mere fact that it's so... I don't know, is this fallacious? I would just say it's illogical, okay? So the results was that they outperformed children raised by different sex parents on standardized test scores, basically meaning IQ scores, I'm assuming, at the end of primary education. So what you're telling me is that somehow children with gay couples or gay parents, for some fucking reason that is unrelated, have better results when it doesn't have anything to do with like let's say intellectuality. This is exactly what this site is all about. So basically the US spending on science, space, and technology, it correlates with the suicides by hanging, strangulation, and suffocation, right? As you can see, two different things that don't really make any sense do have correlation. So there's no causation in what you're saying. There's maybe correlation, but that's a terrible fucking conclusion to have in the study, which is not your fault, but it is something that I've seen in college too many times. So many, like what you call it, researchers doing the same fucking thing that is so broken. There you go. That's the one I was talking about. So the number of people who drown by falling into a pool correlates with the number of films that Nicolas Cage appeared in. Makes no fucking sense because it's not about causation. It's correlation. So that is broken, okay? The point is they do not negatively impact. Again, that's not a fair... You can't deduce that. It is not directly comparable. You can't do that. It's illogical. Once something is illogical, there's not like, oh, there's no point. That's illogical. And I'm not even sure what the whole result of... I'm assuming on what you said. If they did say that shit like that, like they did a test, that's the typical case of like correlation versus causation. That's not... that is not how it goes. Right? It's like somehow some people found now that we're getting more vaccinated more times, we are also getting more heart attacks. Like there might not be a correlation in that, or I'm sorry, there might not be causation in that. It's not the vaccines that are causing the issue, even though there is a correlation. Yeah, I get you. There you go, Nathan. I was addressing the argument, not really if there's something in the background. Of course there are. Usually there always is. Ivan, there's a lot of studies talking about how there's actually no difference between kids being raised by gay or straight parents. Now, that I do believe. Again, I'll say this and I'll repeat it. I'm addressing it on a personal perspective that having a mother and a father was incredibly good for me. Now, I don't know any studies. I had never really been so interested in knowing this. Because in the end of the day, like gay couples having children is not going to be negative, considering that these children will be alone regardless. Or they might not even be born. So who gives a fuck? As long as they have parents, it's better than nothing. Right? Even if you do feel like it's not an ideal situation, it's better than nothing. Just have that thought at the very least. Show me one with actual data and sources. Well, just a person sounds like a beta male. Again, those terms, man, Jesus, they trigger me so much. You aren't understanding the point. Yes, correlation, not causation. The point is, same-sex couples do not negatively... Again, you can't raise that conclusion. I'm assuming your argument. Your argument is that, oh, they performed well. The same way that you can't say that, oh, they are better, you can't say that they aren't worse either. There's no conclusion to be made. You can't use something illogical to prove a point. You just can't. That's what I'm saying, okay? I'm not saying that the whole study is flawed, but that conclusion is broken. You cannot use that conclusion for anything. It's irrelevant. The connection is irrelevant. You can provide, I do believe that it doesn't negatively impact you, but you can't use that argument. The original studies that you're mentioning also mentioned the fact that the correlation doesn't equal, I'm sorry. Ivan, the original study that you were mentioning also included the fact that correlation doesn't equal causation. The author also says that the study probably doesn't reflect children of today. There you go. I don't know. I'm not like you guys are discussing that shit. I'm keeping my hands clean. I don't know anything about these studies. I'm not researching. I don't know. And again, to me, it's not really an issue. Like I said, it's better than, like, even if you think like, oh, they're not ideal. Okay, it's better than nothing. Like, these kids are in foster care and shit like that. Like, it's not going to be a better outcome. I have met one girl who wanted a child but hated males. I feel sorry for the child. Now, women who want to intentionally be single mothers, I don't understand that. I really don't. Those who are because of consequence, that's different, of course. So feminism definitely helped women in the modern Western world, but like anything else, a lot of people will take advantage of it and take it to the extreme. There you go. Abdul, I think I've seen it somewhere in the comments. Have you ever commented on my videos? I think I recognize the name. I think as long as they have loving parents, that is cool. Yeah, but I have known a few who just want kids so they can push their own political ideas. Yes. But usually I can't say that, like, oh, it's the homosexuals, it is the heteros. It's usually just really fucked up people. I never found a correlation with or any kind of connection with people who are something and they're the kind of people to do that kind of shit, you know. It's a whole, like the whole discussion of like baby trapping, you know, women use weaponizing babies to, you know, make men stay in marriages. That's some sick shit. And that's not something that goes for most women. It just applies to a certain group that is crazy enough to do that kind of shit. Now, the thing that we could discuss is that most people don't take that seriously, and that's kind of fucked up. The link I provided only gives you a paragraph and doesn't say any of that. Maybe she searched beyond the link.
Parent, the kids should not be taking care of you. You are supposed to take care of them. Unless the father was hit by a bus or something, if your bad decisions put your young children in a position where they have to take care of you, then you screwed up. So Vox has shown us a single mom, they show us a plus-sized lesbian couple that has a kid, and they showed us a female-to-male transgender person who has a kid. That's a lot of representation. Except out of all the couples they showed, they didn't highlight couples that actually represent the majority of parents, which are two-parent heterosexual couples.
I guess it's like, to Vox, unproportional is still better than nothing. It's Vox, man, like...
Propaganda much?
Yeah.
Speaking of propaganda, we still haven't finished talking about why it's so awful for women to have kids.
Wait, hold on a fucking second. Is this New York? It can't be New York. I don't recognize half of these buildings. I've seen photos from New York from 2008, man. Not anymore. Like, but this seems like Empire State Building. Maybe it's not. That's fucking tall, is it? Damn, dude, I gotta visit New York if this... I don't know. I just gotta visit an American city, dude. It looks beautiful. Goddamn. She can't unless she... Oh, it's a paid article. Many studies have... Well... there were paid studies that I was able to see it for free. Legally, though. I was able. On the day. Many studies... all sometimes you gotta find is an event. Like what you call a seminar. Not a seminar. Well, I guess it could also apply. And if they have digital content, you can find it. Is affected much more by their relationships with their parents sense of competence and security in the present. I do agree with that. That's not like something that, I would believe that's the case. I don't think it has to do a lot to do. Here's the thing. I still believe that having a male and female role model is good. But it's not better than having a family that has money or at least financial stability, that loves you and provides you support emotionally. Shit, like, yeah, of course. I don't even know why we would discuss that kind of shit.
In this next scene, Cleo and her friend Christoph go rock climbing to discuss the wage gap.
Okay, so this is the wage gap, guys. Stop trying to fight with your 10-inch cocks, okay? Let's hear something that I want to address.
Shows that
Climbing to discuss the wage gap.
So, there's a lot of data that shows that the financial impact of having a child isn't borne equally by men and women. So we're going to visualize that.
Let me guess. They're going to find out that women are being oppressed.
Hey, KontrolKrazy, how you doing, man?
I'm not sure why they needed data for this when it's obvious that women take a financial hit when they have kids because they want to stay home. I mean, geez, Vox acts like women are being forced into this role that they are voluntarily choosing. Here's the reality. When you want to stay home instead of working, you are going to make less money.
A 2017 report from the U.S.
And even more importantly, I think that we need to understand is that you're not going to gain experience, which is extremely important. Sure, there's bosses that don't give a shit about how much you evolve, but usually when people evolve, they make more money to the company.
Census Bureau shows the impact of having a child on men and women's earnings among married heterosexual couples. In the first year after having a child, the mother's earnings take a big hit. The father's, not so much. The female spouse's earnings don't actually recover until the child is around 9 years old.
What a shock. When women stay home, their careers suffer. You see, the real problem with this whole narrative...
I don't, you could think that this is fucked up. I could also make an argument that the whole economy is fucked up in regards to that. We shouldn't be working so hard, which I believe. The problem is it is a reality that we have today. And I don't know, unless you come up with really good solutions to avoid this shit, what the fuck is there to be done? Like, if it's not realistic. I never really like ideals, like when it comes to like, oh, this utopia. I don't care about it. If I can't achieve it, why the fuck would I care? Maybe it's me being a negative bitch, okay? But I honestly feel that way. Hey, Alisha, thank you so much for the love. I love this channel too. It draws the right community here. But I really never cared about that kind of shit. It's always like was something weird to me.
Is that Vox is out there acting like this whole thing is unfair. Just like with the wage gap. No, it's not unfair.
Because here's the thing, this will happen like on an individual case. This will happen as well if men all of a sudden decide like, you know what, you make more money than me, I'm going to stay at home. They're going to also take a hit. Like you can... I understand that it's, like taking a hit is not nice, but it is a decision at the end of the day. Yeah, you can't say that shit, okay? If you can't complain about something being old and then the thing is older. If that's the case, I'm basing myself on what you're saying, okay? Don't worry, Elon Musk will help robots to help us, man. Jesus, Elon Musk is gonna replace us with robots instead. It's much easier.
You made
cheaper.
certain choices. Those choices lead to certain outcomes. If you want to get paid as much as men, start working super long hours and pick up more dangerous, high-value jobs instead of picking office secretary, and you'll make the same amount.
Yeah, now this is something that I don't care if you're a woman or a man. You need to understand that it's fine if you go for social workers or, I'm sorry, for social jobs or healthcare. Well, healthcare, I mean, if you're a doctor, you're going to get paid pretty well, but everyone forgets about the rest of the healthcare, which is the people who are still important, but they don't get paid as much because sometimes they don't even go through college, but again, they're still essential. It's fine for you to choose that kind of thing, but understand that you're not going to make a lot of money. Money, in the end of the day, I don't think is the most important thing, okay? But it's all about decisions, isn't it? No, I'm sorry. You did say that this thing was old, and you raised an issue about that. You also said that this shit was debunked, but you said that it was old.
If you don't want to take a financial hit when you have kids, then find a nice house husband to take care of the kids while you work. Here's the problem, though. Based on their preferences, women don't want stay-at-home dads. Women don't want men who make less money than they do, so stop complaining that everything is unfair. The choices are out there, but you aren't choosing them.
Though her earnings do increase as the child gets older, the gap between the two genders is still there by the time that kid is officially an adult. One huge factor here is unequal childcare responsibilities. According to the American Time Use Survey, on an average day, women spent more than double the amount of time providing physical care to children than men.
This is another BS thing. For one, when they talk about the disparity in childcare, are they including the households with stay-at-home moms where her job is specifically to take care of the kids? Because if they're trying to say that arrangement is giving her an unfair amount of housework, then that would be very dishonest. Second, we have things like this. Why do I have to do more housework and childcare? I work a job too. Yeah, but you don't bring in nearly as much money as the guy does, so him doing an equal amount of housework and childcare is not fair. And we know women in average households aren't bringing in as much money as men because child support and alimony go to the person with less income, and those two things almost exclusively go to women. So if you bring home $40K a year and I bring home $100K a year, we are not equal in salary, therefore I shouldn't have to do an equal amount of housework. As I said, this is almost always the case because the vast majority of women will not date long-term or marry a guy who makes less money than she does. Women by large do not want to financially support men. These are women's preferences. So stop complaining that your salary is not equal to your husband's when you specifically chose that person because he makes more money than you.
Yeah, I don't think I have to say anything other than that. It makes a lot of sense. I don't think that, but there's nothing else I could add. I was thinking of something. I'm still thinking. Hold on. I'm slow at it, but you know, that's why you watch me, I guess. But I think that the only thing that I would add in this perspective, I'm still deciding if it should really be the income that matters or the time that you spend making that income. But there's also the argument that you could make that the man making $100,000 per year has a bigger risk of losing his job if he decides to lose focus on that and do as much housework. That's an interesting one. I don't know where to rely on this one, actually. I'm kind of confused because, again, it does make sense, the income thing, but I'm not really sure about, like, it's all about a matter of hours, right? A man could still work the same as the woman and make the same money or make more money, meaning that he still doesn't get away from the housework. So I don't know. And other than that, the 2013 refers to 2010 data. The children from the era are now adults themselves, so you're referring to a different generation. But you're not a good faith person. You're clinging to your debunked study. Also, my second study is from 2020. But, I mean, if you... I'm sorry to step in, but if you are saying like, your shit is old, but then you also provide something old, then it also is going to be not considered. I don't know. Seems like a weird thing.
And propaganda outlets like Vox. Stop telling women that the house situation is not fair. When they talk about house chores, they only count things like laundry and dishes. They very often completely ignore all of the male chores like mowing the lawn, cleaning the rain gutters, lifting heavy things, and fixing stuff when it breaks. So men are still doing housework, and they have to bring in the money. After this, our host Cleo has a conversation with her mom, who is a lawyer, about career choices that she made when she had kids. Here's what they say.
You were prioritizing being at home
and changed jobs to do that.
That's true.
Why was it you who made that choice and not dad?
Again, with the implication that it's unfair if women have to make any decisions. I did some research, and apparently both of Cleo's parents are lawyers. I don't know why they made their particular decisions because the...
let me read that shit. I guess it's important. I found the full interview with Cleo and her mom during editing. While I highly disagree with what they have to say politically, it appears that Cleo's mom did a good job parenting while she was not at work. when she was not working, she made sure everything was about the kids. She made an effort to let them develop their own ideas, and she made sure to maintain important social events like family dinners. She also says a ton of positive things about having children that Vox didn't show. Of course. And she appropriately addresses women who stay home because they are the ones making less money. Another thing that Vox didn't show. Jesus. Fucking manipulation at its highest, man. Aside of that, the full interview didn't really change my opinion much on Vox's presentation of the topic, so I've decided to make no major edits to the video or do any re-recordings. Okay.
The mom didn't really say. She just kind of blames her company. However, most of the time, women are the ones who make the career sacrifice because they are making less money, or because it turns out they actually want to be the ones who stay home. Go figure. There are women out there who want to stay home instead of work. I'm sure Vox will still find a way to call that oppression. Also, there's the biological reality of things like breastfeeding and the fact that very young children...
Yeah, you can skip that. I guess women will always be at disadvantage at this, but they have to... I mean, men can't replace that. I mean, there's formulas, but still, it's not optimal.
Children need to be around their mothers all the time and don't really need all that much from the dad until they're around age 5.
Yeah, well...
Just quick recommendation, guys, for you to argue about that shit. I would recommend you to search things not based on what you believe, but rather on the question, on hypothesis, right? Which is, what are we talking about here? Instead of you try, what it seems that you both are doing is that you're going for things that support your ideas rather than search the truth, okay? Both of you. One study could be true, the other one could not, whatever, I don't care. But you guys are searching for things that are supporting your ideas rather than the thing that it actually addresses. I'm not going to say in the central position, but things that answer the question. What is the point of Vox pushing these ideas? It's Vox, it sells. Goes with, why do you think BuzzFeed tries to appease as much as to the, let's call, the Twitter mob? Because the Twitter mob exists, and even though it is usually a vocal minority when someone gets canceled and whatnot, it's a lot of people, and they will get more the more they push this shit. So they're creating clients with this, customers.
You can suss out your environment a bit. There were no women who were associates who had babies who had gone on to make partner. I should have learned from that.
I don't think that's fair to put on yourself. It really frustrates me that we position this as an individual choice. Like, the other option is your law firm could have supported you more.
Yes, and they were not prepared to do that.
No, it's not a company's job to pay you for not working.
Wait, what? This is exactly the bullshit I don't agree with. People, companies are for profit. I'm not saying that they have to treat you in any way, that there's no labor laws, yada, yada, yada. That's what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that, fucking hell, it's not the company's responsibility to make sure that you have a good parenthood. Working in a company is a trade situation. You bring us money, we give you part of that money, right? Because you just brought that fucking money. You're not going to get paid if you don't do a good job. If you do, for example, even as a customer service, the fact that you are attending customers means that they will still stay with the company, and that must bring income, which you deserve part of. Companies are not necessarily about like helping people. They're not charity. In the end of the day, labor laws are to protect people, but they're just like, they don't give away money just because. So it's really confusing for people to have this stance of like, it's my right, so the company has to pay me. Like, no. The company pays you salary. That's something that is a right that the government usually has to make sure the company does that. But when it comes to like childbirth and stuff like that, again, I believe that the government should be the one giving the money, but that's usually something that has to do with who truly hands out the money, right? Might be something meaningless to you, I understand that. But it's not really a concern of the company. So why the fuck would a company have to like support the fact that you are a mother? No, the companies are going to support you when you bring them money. It's about profit. If you don't like that, they don't take away their money. In general, not just one company. Don't work for the private sector. I don't know, it's just confusing, like, when it comes to consistency, why people have this idea that, like, it's a company that needs to provide that shit. Like, no, it hasn't. No, it's not. I'm sorry.
It's also not fair when no, it's not a company's job to pay you for not working. It's also not fair when it comes to promotions to get preferential treatment because you decided to have kids over someone who didn't, who has put a lot more.
Let me just hear what they say.
Choice. Like the other option is your law firm could have supported you more. This as an individual choice. Like it really frustrates me that we position this as an individual choice. Like the other option is your law firm could have supported you more.
It is an individual choice. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that part. What the fuck is she trying to claim? That when you have a kid, the company is having a kid? Do you think it's a false sense of entitlement that makes people want companies to support them, even when they don't work? Absolutely. Like that's people treating companies as charity or something. That's dumb. I'm sorry. I really can't understand that. That is so weird. But yeah, like I hope I'm not the only one that thinks like this, right? Maternity leave is not a problem to me. The problem is who gives it, and the whole idea that we have about like that being a right. Because even when it comes to the salary, for example, it's not really the company that is supporting your right. The company will give you money, but you still have to pay government taxes, right? It's not the company that the company gives you money. But at the end of the day, salary is not really to be perceived as a right because you still got to pay your duty or your due. That's how you say it. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. But you got to pay what you have to pay to the government. Maternity leave is something that I believe it should be completely on the government side. A public affair, let's call it. Rather than a company that has to provide that shit. It's so weird to me to see people who believe in that. It's not that they're wrong about maternity leaves, but it shouldn't be, or support. It's just that it's not the company that needs to make that, it's the government. Even if that money obviously has to come from taxes, companies, people, I don't care, but I don't know.
Yes, and they were not prepared to do that.
No, it's not a company's job to pay you for not working. It's also not fair when it comes to promotions to get preferential treatment because you decided to have kids over someone who didn't, who has put a lot more hours and effort into the company. If you don't want to make those kinds of
government should provide the money for maternity leave taken from Jeff. What the fuck is that? Jeff Bezos' account. Now, the only thing that I ask from Jeff Bezos is to fucking pay his, taxes, even though this could be fake news, but I feel like, from what I remember, Amazon didn't pay in totality the fucking federal taxes they had to pay, but even this might be fake info. We are fucking targets every day, I guess, of that. But I really don't have a problem with billionaires and millionaires, right? If they make the money in a dirty way, which most do, of course, sure, I would have a problem with that, but millionaires, billionaires making money, like, we can't be talking about Jeff Bezos and buying a fucking new washing machine off Amazon, you know what I'm saying? It's so cringy to me to see people be like, fuck capitalism, and they buy like 10 fucking products on Amazon. Like, no. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't go well with me. I had to say it, but Myron did say we live in a gynocentric social order where the female view is the right view. There's some situations where that happens, but there's still a lot of situations where we don't even hear women's opinion about something, right? There's still a lot of areas where women are suffering. I can't deny that. So I'm saying that is a gynocentric? No, I really can't agree with that.
Sacrifices, then don't have kids. Life is about sacrifice. You cannot get everything you want, and you have to make choices. That's one of the lies that feminists have sold to women. You can't have everything. That's not how real life works. In real life, working moms can't do it all. The kids of two working parents get thrown into daycare, and mom is never there for things like soccer practice because she's at work. If you don't want that kind of life, then don't work a career. Or do the obvious thing, which is be a lawyer after your kids grow up. As I've said many times before, women almost always pick careers that you can do until you're like 70. But for some reason, they are so insistent on burning up their childbearing years to get ahead. It doesn't make any sense. The last thing that Vox does is make a plea for socialism by showing this chart and saying, it's so unfair that women have to pay for childcare. Wow, paying for your own things. Imagine a world where people paid for their own things instead of forcing the net taxpayers to pay for everything. I also noticed something that's missing from this chart.
Women median full-time earnings. Wait, what? Oh wait, Portugal is in here. What the fuck? What is that? Oh, hold on a second. What is this? I don't understand this graphic. Let me hear the...
It's the last thing that Vox does is make a plea for social. It doesn't make any sense. The last thing that Vox does is make a plea for socialism by showing this chart and saying, it's so unfair that women have to pay for childcare. Wow, paying for your own things. Imagine a world where people paid for their own things instead of forcing the net...
Okay, so it's a portion of personal income paid is marked in yellow. Why didn't they specify that? Does someone understand this graphic? Or graph, or whatever you call it? Because portion of personal income paid is marked in yellow, and then the rest is... What? I don't understand it.
Taxpayers to pay for everything. I also noticed something that's missing from this chart, which is the percentages of men's earnings spent on childcare. I guess men don't matter to Vox. Their argument here is that if people had more support from the government, which means the net taxpayers, then they'd be more likely to have kids. However,
also, why aren't they addressing this topic towards men too? Because the whole thing is, do I want kids? Men don't make that decision either. They don't have responsibilities over a child.
Look at the birth rates for these countries on the right, where they get the most support, versus on the left, where they get the least support.
Yay, Portugal is there.
The countries that get less government support have a significantly higher average birth rate than the countries who get more government support. If Vox is going to say that these things correlate...
I was thinking, I love this guy. When it comes to analytics, I love this guy. Yes, like, they're drawing correlation, like, things that don't make any fucking sense. There's no connection to be made. Okay, I can assure you that Portugal, the government support, yeah, we have a lot of government support. It's not going to be the thing that drives people to have kids. So, I don't know. See, what the fuck is that? Excuse me. Sometimes my belly and my stomach tries to fight me. That's something that happens a lot. Myron also said white men are the most persecuted group of people in America. Let's just say he's full of shit. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who the most persecuted group of people is. I think that when it comes to that, it's always a different group of problems that people have. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of problems, for example, that women have that I would never like to have in my life. But there's also a lot of problems that I go through and I go like, that a lot of women would be like, holy shit, that seems... I didn't know that. I don't know. I really don't care. I hate the victimization contests, you know. It's so cringe to me. Oh, so okay, hold on a second. The part that isn't yellow is what they want. They want the government to pay. So in the case of UK, no, UK already pays a lot. And the United States was high on yellow, so it can't be true.
Then they would have to come to the opposite conclusion that they made in the video, because the data shows that government handouts are bad for birth rates. So moral of the story, pay for your own stuff. Last, we have Cleo saying this.
The truth is, I'm not going to be making this decision based on statistics. I'm going to be making this decision based on my own feelings and my own family and my own potential family.
True. People generally make decisions.
Yes, and also financial stability, shit like that. But I guess she couldn't mention everything. But I would like to add that, okay? You're going to assess your own situation and conditions.
Decisions based on feeling and not statistics. That's a very important thing to know if you're going to try to convince people. You can't just cite numbers. While you should cite numbers, you also need to cater to emotion to actually convince people. Which is also why, in terms of the overall mood, Vox has presented a completely negative view of kids to women. It started out with, we have data that shows that kids make you miserable. Then it went on to, there is not enough fertility support for women of color. Then it was, women who have kids can't go as far in their careers. And last, they said...
Oh, okay. See, okay. That's how you pronounce it, I guess. Okay. I always, I hear the M in it, dude. I always hear the M in it.
The net taxpayers aren't giving you enough of their money so that you can have an easy time raising kids. Every major point that Vox made was skewed towards convincing women to not have kids. There was not one act in this show dedicated to the benefits of having kids. There were a couple of people in the show who said they liked their kids, but those were only fleeting examples versus the majority of the video that told women to not have kids. Then, after saying that Cleo was going to make an emotional decision, it ends off with several people telling everyone to not have kids.
There's so many things.
Let's read that. Oh, so Cleo does imply that she was going to have kids in the video, and if you watch her YouTube channel, she entirely behaves as she is going to have kids. However, Vox never really makes these strong beliefs clear with the way the video is edited. It is incredibly manipulated, but that's manipulative. I'm sorry, but that's Vox. However, Vox never really makes these strong beliefs clear with the way that the video was edited. I imagine that was because of the narrative that was against having kids, and if she comes out openly saying that she was definitely going to have kids after all of this negative propaganda, it would significantly harm the purpose of this video. Yep. See, can't say too loud, man. Otherwise. Right, so the topic, feminism in the West, and this is mostly to do with, as you can see in the title, how feminism teaches women to be undesirable to men, which touches a little bit of the wage gap and because I'll publish this video, okay? If you weren't able, you have DVR, you can check the what happened before this point, but I'm gonna make this one public. I don't care about CTR, fuck it.
Off with several people telling everyone to not have kids.
There's so many things that can give you purpose, not just being a parent.
If you want to know what propaganda looks like, here it is. Things like this are how a bunch of news outlets got women to believe that being a stay-at-home mom is offensive and kids should be left at daycare instead of being taken care of by their parents. Feminism's next goal to destroy people's mental health is to get rid of people's desire to have kids, which in reality is not about happiness. Kids aren't there to make you happy, especially when they are really young. You are supposed to already be happy before you have kids so that you can handle the extreme situation that you're about to put yourself in. Because taking care of kids is stressful. The major flaw of that study that I talked about at the beginning is that it asked the wrong question. The question is not, do kids make people happy? The question is having kids better than not having kids? Because the answer for most people is that it's better to have kids. The reason being...
Let me just say this is beautiful, man. I wish I knew where the fucking this shit was. Like, this is beautiful. Man, I really like the space. I'm sorry about this. Is this American? Doesn't seem like... Yeah, it might be. Damn, dude. Some beautiful fucking cities. I love this urban space kind of thing. Yeah, I like the video, actually.
And that one of the...
And like I said, especially when you counter statistics and stuff like that.
Because the answer for most people is that it's better to have kids. The reason being that one of the most important metrics of life is not happiness. It's fulfillment. Fulfillment is what's actually good for your mental health, and fulfillment is not something that you get from doing hedonistic things that make you happy all the time.
This is Vegas.
Fulfillment is achieved by going through intense struggle to accomplish something meaningful that makes your life a net positive on society. To most people, that's having kids, which is why running giant propaganda campaigns telling people to not have kids because it's hard is evil. Doing that will remove most people's purpose in life as well as cause a worse population crisis than we already have. Also, people who don't accomplish difficult things are generally unhappy and have poor mental health. Outside of that, if you are going to choose to not have kids, then you can't just replace that with nothing. One thing they don't tell you is that once you actually achieve some success in your life and stop struggling financially, things get boring. I mean, really boring. If you aren't constantly thinking of the next big thing that you're going to dedicate yourself to, then the devil is going to make work for idle hands. That's how people start developing pathological behaviors like drug addiction. Being bored is a huge problem for mental health, and boredom is a common cause for long-term depression. Usually, people prevent this boredom by keeping themselves occupied with kids. So if you aren't going to do that, then you need to find something that is meaningful and really difficult to accomplish. Something that you can look back on after you achieve it and say, that added value to my community. That's what will keep you from developing bad behaviors, and that's what will give your life purpose.
And see, this is what I like about this video. It's not pushing this idea that you have to have kids too. But usually it's what this video is usually like is greatly, what is the word I'm looking for? Majorly about, right? It's trying to convince me that I need to have kids, but if you do decide to not have kids, then it's better for you to get something that will keep you entertained, because that's something that I believe, like, okay, sure, I don't want kids, I don't believe that I'll be a good father, but what else will I do? So I have to start thinking of the things, because once I make that decision, like my girlfriend is past 40s, she's not gonna have a baby, let's be honest, right? Even me, my own old sperm is not gonna be able to swim, right? You went from, Jesus man, from a high-speeding boat to the Titanic, right? It is not gonna work. So once that happens, I need to make sure that whatever I do with my life, I can ensure that the things that I did before added value to someone else and myself. Because I'm pretty sure you can't live a life that is all about you. And if I do decide to not have kids, then I need to find something that will replace, like, let's say, that void. Even though I don't want to use that word, but basically understand, like, and I like that. He's being honest, okay? He's not like sugarcoating it, but that's the truth, okay? That I need to make, if I make a life decision, I can't expect that I don't want kids, and my life will be, if I can, like, I'm gonna do my life as if I did have kids. I can't do that shit. I'm gonna have to take a different path, right? Which kind of goes again to the topic that we were talking about, like women. Yeah, sure, you can have kids and have a career, but it's gonna be tougher. And you need to understand that you're gonna have to focus on two things at the same time. That's really hard. Silva, sweetie, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that people are arguing over things that have nothing to do with the video we're watching. I noticed that. But that's fine, let them talk. I can't be mentioning every single chat if that's the case. I'm sorry about that, guys. You can talk, I don't care. But yeah, we already jumped that topic a long time ago, guys. A long time ago. So feminists don't want kids. I mean, feminists hate men, so that makes sense. Again, I believe that the modern... There are women today that I wouldn't classify them as modern feminists, which is a good thing. But there's a lot of women, or even men, that I would consider feminists that is not a good thing, or modern feminists in a way that is not positive, basically. But yeah, let me just finish this video. I think there's still...
But with that said, I think that's enough for this video.
Okay.
So if you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, comment and share.
Oh, I did. Okay, there you go. I'm not a ungrateful bitch. There you go. You even had, like, you always had something.
The lowest single motherhood.
So someone noticed that during the Bush and Obama years, everyone's salaries remained pretty flat, but during the Trump years before COVID, everyone's median income makes a significant jump. Just thought I might point that out. I'm gonna say the same thing, that this might be a correlation that doesn't make any sense, right? Even though it could happen, of course. You're cherry picking or misinterpreting. I think, yeah, that's not a point there. Yeah, I would say this is also another case. It's easy to commit this mistake, but people, once you do notice it, don't do it, okay? Which is correlating shit that doesn't make any sense. I think that was the biggest sin that we've seen all together in this. Okay. So I think that's pretty much everything. There's nothing more.
With the rates of single motherhood,
but it was an interesting video.
If you would like to support this channel, then you can do so with PayPal, Patreon.
No. I don't pay for articles. I gotta start putting my fucking PayPal. Actually, there's like this feature that allows me to like put this extra option, but I guess YouTube doesn't like me enough for that kind of shit. So I guess that would be pretty much it. And I don't want to make it too long because I'm gonna make this public. So if people see like 5 hours, they're not gonna watch that. So that would be pretty much it. Thank you so much, Michelle, and everyone else who has been watching. I feel like this is pretty much... It was a good video. How many hours was this? Yeah, but that was not the correlation that he was talking about. He was talking like comparing with Obama and Bush and Trump, which is not really even a Republican thing because he did address Bush. But I guess it was because of COVID, not really because of Trump. But maybe he's being, I don't know, wild speculation here, okay, I admit. But I think he's doing this so that people realize what correlation and causation difference is, basically. Hey, thank you so much, Lasego. I hope I'm saying the name right. No, it's not. It's actually mean it, okay. Yeah, I wouldn't make that point about political. I just don't know. Not completely sure about that. Let me just check here or something. There you go, man. Still 17 people. You guys are fucking crazy. Thank you so much for the views. Okay. Ooh. Why am I lagging? Am I lagging? A little bit. Are we good? We good. I think we good. When I read your name, I keep reading it like Marty said, let's go. Wait. Ah, the fuck, wait. Let's go! How the fuck does he say it? Now that it's one of those situations that I forget how people say things. Let's go, Marty. But yeah. Let's go! Yeah, there you go, yeah. If you read his name, is even better for, like, on the phonetic side. Let's go! No, wait. Let's go! Yeah, there you go. Yeah, his name does create that pause that is perfect for it. Why do I have the baby bar? Okay, there you go. It is true.
Let's go.
Okay. Whoa, stop.
Let's go.
There you go. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, that is true. All your friends notice that shit too? I mean, I'm sorry, but common sense, right? I guess it did create an environment for economic growth, maybe at the detriment of everything else, but shout out to all Portugal. God knows where it would be without Bruno or Cristiano again. Good night, everybody. But there you go. So yeah. So I'm gonna have to end your guys' discussion. My chat, actually, my chat lives as long as you guys stay on it, I guess. So hijack it. Don't worry about it. We should be good. Like I should be making a video tomorrow. We'll see, man. I fucking for 3 days in a row I didn't feel like making a video, but I'll try to make one tomorrow. We'll see. The problem is, like, it's already midnight, as you can see. It's gonna be tough to sleep, but alright. Alright, so thank you so much, guys, for everyone who's been watching. Alright, I'll see you next time, which I don't know. I'm gonna try to keep this I'm gonna put this public. Okay, wait a little bit because YouTube always puts every stream with limited monetization. I'm not even sure. To be honest, at this point, I don't care about monetization. But YouTube, most of the times, it creates a. It's quite picky about content that is not monetized, because if it's not monetized, YouTube doesn't like advertising it. So your name, it is awesome. It is awesome. It's just a funny thing, right? Someone else had a funny thing with his name, with their name. Can't remember now. Pretty sure Louca, I'm saying his name wrong. So, and he's been watching me ever since I created this channel and I started streaming GTA 5. Would you fucking know it? But yeah, that would be pretty much it. Yeah, I guess I do have a topic for tomorrow. So, or video though. I can't do another stream. Fuck it. So thank you so much for everyone for watching. Okay, Michelle, you stood here for Jesus. Today it's your turn. You stayed here ever since minute 0, right? And everyone else, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.